Hey everybody, welcome to our live Coco discussion. We're going to talk about the movie. We're going to talk about
everything Coco.
Everything Coco.
Our thoughts, where we rate it, our favorite characters, our favorite song, everything.
Julie, you are running this thing. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. So can you tell? I thought Coco was just okay.
Yes. So we had a raucous discussion for the last hour previously, not broadcast, with some other folks that we had on here as well, just to talk about some other fun stories. So we've already been talking, we've already been laughing, so we're rip-roaring and ready to go. I see we've got tons of people in the chat already that have been out here. So to Epic Norwal, happy to see you back. Paulina, always happy to see you. Yvonne Gamer, always great. Otter Tunes, I saw Esther in here. Hello. Shane. Yep. Shane Bell, Isael Prado, always the first one in these chats. Like an hour and a half, 2 hours before, you had already posted something in the chat. So you are ready to go for it. El Rayo, McQueen, everybody here. So we've got so much to talk about.
But who's with us? Let's introduce our friends.
Yeah, sorry, we've already been talking. So it's like they're already been here. So yes, of course, we like to always bring on a couple other people. And of course, it makes sense when you're going to talk about the review of the film so we can get a broad perspective of things as we dive into the details and talk about the big things.
Yeah, because what he likes, sometimes I don't like. And what I like, sometimes you don't like.
So
that makes us so good together.
That's right. So we are joined first by Mr. Giovanni D Martinez. So say hello, Giovanni.
Hey there, everybody. Yeah. Good to be here.
Yep, you've been on a couple of these before as well, so we're happy to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
And from just give everybody a little bit of a perspective about yourself, and like the fact that you're getting kind of like in the animation world, and
yeah. So so I'm a 3D animator in training. I actually go to the Animation Collaborative in Emeryville, right across from Pixar. So I do that. Learning the ropes of the animation world so I can animator. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. And we, you say you hope you're going to be there.
You're going to do it. You're going to make it. I know it.
Dude, if anybody can make it, it's you, dude.
Yeah.
That's correct.
You can do it.
Yeah. So there's also just a quick note here before we jump over to Dan. Somebody's saying, how come we didn't talk about the Incredibles 2 trailer? A couple people asked us that, so we're just going to talk about it real quick because the teaser was like 4 seconds of footage. So
I figured that's why.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had much to say.
Yeah, it was a teaser trailer. If it was a full trailer, we absolutely would have done it. But teaser, didn't know if we had enough.
Yeah, it's just a little too little.
Yes, and Otter Tunes love the Coco apparel going on. Yes, we've got lots of it going on over here. We've got to show our Coco love in full effect. So the other person that we have joining us, as usual, is Mr. Dan, the Pixar fan, or shall I say Dan, the Pixar man.
Oh my gosh. Hey, to each his own. If people want to call me that, that's fine. If it rolls better off the tongue, it's whatever.
I just laughed because you were on another podcast, and that's how it was introduced in there. So and you called it out right when you came on. You're like, as long as you just don't call me Dan the Pixar man.
But then he's like, wait till you hear our intro, because they pre-recorded it and they already messed it up.
Yep.
That was hilarious.
So Dan the Pixar fan. So if you've been on our site, if you've been on these Hangouts, and everybody that I'm talking about here certainly has before, and well, the quick overview I'll give of Dan is danthepixarfan.com. I'm doing this for you, Dan, because you do it all the time.
Oh,
Take a break. Take a break.
I like it.
So it's really a website, a blog that he has that it's a dedication to his personal Pixar collection, and he posts approximately every day. It's very few days that you don't have a post about one particular product, whether it be something old and legacy that you want to get people interested in again, or whether it's something brand new that's just hitting the shelves. You can always count on Dan talking about not only the products, but then also some events and things like that, like the science behind Pixar and going to the studio and those types of things. You do a couple of those event type posts as well. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah. I like the term legacy stuff. I'm going to use that now.
Legacy.
Anytime I post something, the legacy.
Well, It's. I guess after I said old first, I was like, I don't want to call it old because then that means I'm old. So I'm legacy.
Yeah, no, I like it. No, you summed it up very well.
What did you just say?
I said you are old.
Oh,
You just had a birthday.
That's true. You are. Well, you're older.
Well, I am older now because of the birthday. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
aren't we all?
Yes.
All right,
So,
snap, crackle, pop. Let's get into it.
Yes.
Yeah, we have so much. I don't even know if we're going to be able to do it all.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Magda, hello, welcome. Revolution Channel, hello, welcome. Matthew Motley, hello, welcome. Jules the Boombox Zombie, watch out. So we got lots of people here. So I think the first thing that we just need to say, just first off, what are our overall thoughts walking out of the movie? What were your first things that you wanted to say about it, Julie?
Like quick thoughts?
Yeah, like literally don't like give like
Julie has like a whole spiel waiting to get out.
Yeah.
I've like rehearsed it in my mind.
Yes.
I thought this was an absolutely flawless film. I think that to sum it up, I don't think there's another Pixar film that has a better story than Coco.
Wow.
That has actually, the whole film had me absolutely captivated. I didn't have a lull in like attention span, or not that I'm ADD, but just like that I was just captivated the whole time. I thought the timing, everything was perfect. I thought it was flawless.
Okay. That is a high review. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Giovanni, how about yourself?
I absolutely loved it. Walked out of the theater wiping my eyes and my tears just from, at the end, and just a beautiful film. I was ready to go back in and watch it again, just listen to the songs again, the beautiful music that this film had, and just to look at it again. It's just such a beautiful film from beginning to end, and absolutely loved it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely hear you on the wiping your eyes. What's funny is the second time I saw it, I cried more.
Yeah, I feel like I did the same thing.
So weird. It's like I knew it was
too.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. So.
And you know what's funny? And I mean, I got emotional, but I still cried more in The Good Dinosaur. And I think it's because I used The Good Dinosaur as the connection to our son.
Right.
Because The Good Dinosaur came out right when our son was born. So I felt like I was Arlo and my son was Spot. And then like when he went away, I just like, for some reason that messed me up more than Coco did, but I still was very misty-eyed. Mm-hmm. And I think I cried more in Coco in a very unexpected scene.
We'll save that.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we've got a couple other people. Isael Prado saying Julie's review, giving the hand clap. Esther saying me too, cried more the second time. It's what it sounds like. A couple other people. Otter Tunes is asking for some of your social information, Giovanni. So we'll save that for the end, but we got to figure out how we can share your site so people can start seeing some of your information.
Oh, right, yeah.
Your reels
and everything that you're working. But as far as Dan, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, first, Julie, I just want to piggyback off what you said. Britta, my wife, she cried more during The Good Dinosaur as well. So there's something about that. She didn't. I mean, she definitely cried at the appropriate moment there at the end of this film, when it all comes together and tied nicely with a bow, and everything just comes to a perfect ending. But yeah, I think there's something about some of the other films that maybe are more of a cry fest, but I definitely caught myself misty-eyed, and then maybe even, it's weird. I got more emotional as an afterthought, like after I was thinking about the movie and after I was listening to the songs more. It was weird. It was like a delayed reaction, and then it hit me. And then I wasn't even watching the movie when I started like tearing up, which is kind of weird. Yeah, it was kind of like a delayed thing, but because it was more, the more I thought about it, the more poignant I guess it got. And then, like I said, that second viewing, I think I was a bit more emotional as well. But as far as my overall thoughts, Esther can attest. The moment it ended, I leaned over and I said, "Can we run it again? Can we turn it on again?" Because that was my gut knee-jerk reaction was, I need to see that again. I need to process this. Like, that was mind-blowing. I couldn't even, like, I was just sitting there, and I was just kind of completely flustered over the whole thing. It was just incredible. And the more I think about it, and the more I try to delve deeper into the story, the more I agree with Julie, is that it's flawless. Like, I cannot think of a story flaw, a animation flaw, anything. Like sometimes with Pixar films, you can find a little plot hole here or there, or you can find something that maybe doesn't make a lot of sense or the most sense. And I've put this one through the ringer, and I cannot think of anything wrong with it. So.
Okay, so I don't have anything that's wrong with it, but I do have notes of things that I wanted, like one thing I wanted more of. So we'll get to that.
Which is what?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But there was something that I wanted a little more of, and there was a couple things that are just observationally from Chiquinho's score that I want to talk about as well, that I was a little confused about at one point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice
Win.
He's teasing us. We'll get there, I guess.
She's very angry at me for this.
We haven't even talked about this. I like these live streams because then we don't talk to each other for the whole day about things.
Right.
So you're seeing our real reactions.
Try to keep it a surprise.
Sleep on the couch tonight.
So,
I hope not.
All right. So so my overall reactions I didn't say anything.
No, you didn't. We didn't ask you.
My overall reactions, I absolutely loved it. I talked about this early on, that this movie was going to have a special place in my heart. It absolutely did. I have never said anything about this on any of these streams. I haven't said anything on our sites, but today is the 30th. On the 28th, so 2 days ago, and 1 year prior, my mother passed away. And it was, when the movie came out, it was so close to the 1 year anniversary and everything that it really, I knew it was going to mean something to me. And that made this movie extra special, because all the research that we did,
we made an ofrenda this year.
We talked about it on our last hangout, that we did an ofrenda. I mean, it was just, so many things have been hard and heavy, and this movie has helped me heal.
It's been almost like a therapy, kind of.
It absolutely is. And there's been so many things from this that have just brought me so much more help and joy, and the expansion of my knowledge of the culture and my respect for what they did. It meant so much. So where you talk about The Good Dinosaur meaning a lot because of the connection of our son, this was the connection to my mom and feeling a little bit more okay with the afterlife and things like that. So how about that for an overall take?
That's good. That's deep.
Yeah, it is deep. But I never really wanted to say anything about it, but I figure, I guess, if we're going to talk about it, it's now.
It's your real emotions, and that's...
Yeah.
I understand the therapy thing. I remember after watching Inside Out with Britta, that was like a therapy for her. I remember her coming out. She was in tears. She was rambling about all sorts of stuff she was sad about, and she was getting it all out, and she was venting. We saw it in New York City, and I'm like, are you ever going to talk about the movie? How did you like it? But technically she was, in a sense, talking about the movie because it meant so much to her, and it was therapeutic, that technically through all this, that was how much she loved the movie, is that this was how much it impacted her, because it gave her this this huge run of emotions and this need to to vent and get her sadness out. And it was kind of a similar type of therapy, I guess. That was a big one for us.
Yep, absolutely. So I think moving into the film itself, let's talk about high level. So from a character standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Favorite character. Dan, we'll pop it back over to you. And by the way, while you're thinking of that, Dan, because then everybody's gonna have to think of it, I will say thank you to all the comments in the chat about the condolences and everything. I do appreciate it. It still is, it's ridiculous. So anyways, Dan, yes, favorite character.
That's a very hard question. That's why I'm I have to think just for a second. I loved a lot of different characters for different reasons. I'm gonna stick with Hector for now. I loved his personality. and his arc and his animation. And what comes to mind is that scene with that officer when his hands get disconnected and he's using his hands are walking.
Yeah.
That was my favorite shot in the whole film, I would say. That love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes,
Really?
I know. I really enjoyed. I focus on the character animation. I just thought that was just I don't know.
No, I understand.
No, that's cool. I love to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a big standout for me. Just that character in general, his wit and his personality. I liked him. A close second and third. Miguel obviously is a huge standout for me. He carried the film, and also Mama Coco. That rounds out my top 3.
Okay. So
but I love them all. I could go to a top 7 or 8.
All right. So how about Giovanni?
I totally agree with you, Dan, because like it really was like every character in this film. There's just something special about each one of them.
Yes.
But if I had to pick one, I would totally choose Hector.
Mm-hmm.
Film right away, I go Hector is absolutely my favorite because you're right. He has a great arc. He starts as sort of this, comedic relief, but turns into something so much greater. It's a beautiful story that he has throughout the whole thing. And I thought exactly so the way he moves. I just love every time he was on screen. I just loved watching him. And so absolutely Hector. So yeah.
Wow,
I love when he tries to lie, but he can't help but just be honest and get it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He did that several times where he like tries to be, this trickster. He tries to lie, but then it always seems to come out because he's got that heart.
Yeah.
Or lack of, I guess.
lots of dueling Miguel and Hectors, but it looks like Hector might be winning out a little bit in the chat as well. But that's interesting, Giovanni, that you say that, and even Dan from Hector's standpoint. There's been other people that have said that they didn't like him as much. But for myself, I would say it was Miguel.
Oh, don't say what I'm going to say.
Yeah, she was going to say it's Miguel.
No, you can say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Miguel, and am I going to say it's the reason? Because of the
voice acting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Miguel's my favorite, too.
Oh, of course. Anthony brought his A game.
Anthony Gonzalez.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anthony Gonzalez, like I wrote him on Instagram.
I did too, on a separate post.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
That like literally like we're like, you are the epitome of a vocal actor when it came to delivering a performance at all levels, from excitement all the way down to when he's, and do we need to say at this point that this is a spoiler conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we never said that this was a spoiler conversation.
Yeah, we're giving a deep review. It's going to be a lot of spoilers. We're not going to say that again, so moving on.
Hold it back.
And but yeah, everything from when he's doing his grito for the first time all the way to the end when he's delivering that beautiful performance of Remember Me, I really feel like he was crying.
Yeah.
When he was singing that to Mama Coco. Like,
it's astonishing. His voice acting is like one of the best I think Pixar has ever had.
Yeah.
And I know he can't win like a lot of awards for the voice acting, but he better, I hope, I shouldn't say better. I hope, because there's lots of good performances, but I really hope he's nominated, and I hope he wins the Annie Award, excuse me, for best vocal performance, because that was unbelievable.
It was.
Unbelievable. Best, one of my favorite Pixar characters.
Talented. I mean, his speaking performance, but then his singing performance and his range, not only in his emotions, but then his singing and then his emotions while he's singing. Like he had everything. Like he's a gem. He is a one in a who knows how many kid out. Like one in a million maybe.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. When he was the other spot that I absolutely just loved it is like literally like this is like Tom Hanks level like delivery acting. Is when they're in the cenote, that big limestone pit with the water and everything, and they're piecing it together between Hector and Miguel that they're he's his great grandfather, and they go all the way from the emotion of like I'm all the way down in the bottom of this pit, literally like and figuratively in my life. This is the lowest point. I'm going to be stuck here. I'm going to be a skeleton now. To literally like at the end, he's kicking the water, screaming, I'm happy that he's in my family.
Right. Family, yeah.
That literally, like, that whole scene, like, we'll get to that scene and talk about it, but that was incredible. And remind me to talk about Pepita in that scene specifically.
I think it was.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, I think Anthony also did a really good job when he's in his little hideout and Dante's like kind of licking him. I want to know, was there a real dog in the audio then? Because how he says it and how he reacts is good. Is very good, well acted. I mean, I know he's an actor,
right?
But I'd like to know if there was like a dog in there, like reacting with him, because that was so real.
Yeah,
like how he was reacting, like, oh,
yeah, yeah. So that's what your favorite character was going to be that you were going to say.
Miguel. Well, we've talked about that.
Yeah. I loved Hector as well.
And Mama Imelda's voice.
Mama Imelda's voice.
Oh, yeah, she was great too.
She almost made my top 3 too.
Holy cow, when she sang.
Oh.
Yes. That's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie right there.
Yeah.
I listen to that song constantly on the soundtrack. I love it. It's a great performance.
Okay, so let's talk about songs real quick.
Song.
Okay, so now you want to talk songs?
Yeah, let's talk about our favorite song, because I have one.
Okay, so you guys can post what your favorite song was in the chat as well, but Julie, you can go first on this one then.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but La Corazon.
La Corazon?
La Corazon.
Which
it's
one?
the ending song.
Oh, the ending song. Yeah.
Oh, that's yes, absolutely.
It's literally one of the best endings. I love it. It was so happy. I just I felt so warm, and just like the song was just like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome.
That's like
I sing that song.
That's like Miguel in his like maroon mariachi suit, right?
Yes. We just saw Coco again last night. We took our son to go see it, and I've been singing that song all day.
Mm-hmm.
That ending scene, it's happy, but I love it because it's bittersweet that they're able to take something that's kind of sad, especially when you see Mama Coco's picture go up. But they don't make a big deal out of it. It's not supposed to be this big emotional punch, but it's subtly sad and handled so well and so tastefully. And that whole ending scene, like, what gets me? It's a random moment, but it kind of makes me tear up when I see the film. Is when Hector kind of takes the spiritual essence of Miguel's guitar and starts playing with him.
Mm-hmm.
That just tied the whole thing together. That was just part of that classic wrap it up with a nice bow that Pixar does. And that one, it's such a small moment, and it's not a moment that I think that's supposed to make you emotional per se. But it does for me. I don't know what it is. Such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, wow. In the chat, there's so many. So La Llorona, Proud Corazon, Un Poco in Spanish.
And La Llorona, that's the Mama Imelda song.
Correct.
Yeah. And I didn't know this, but and you probably know this, but for me, I didn't know that it's actually a traditional Mexican folk song.
Yeah, they actually talked about it at Pixar. And then La Petarona, I probably pronounced it
that that
wrong.
one we could be a little off on, but yeah. So
they're just
yeah. So what's funny is there's another girl I was talking to, and she talked about the fact that song used to like haunt her, the La Llorona, because she's like she drew like her house and how there was like a river behind her house, like right behind it, and like apparently like the song talks and has like elements of like the woman in the river and all these other things, and so. Yeah, so she was like, yeah, that is like an awesome song, but it's terrifying and like it's so cool. So okay, so we haven't gone around everybody here.
I think Dan and I, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't said one per se. It's hard for me to narrow it down because I love all the renditions. I mean, technically I would say my favorite melody, if I had to pick one, would be Remember Me. Whatever version it might be, whether it's the lullaby or it's the grand opening version or it's the end credits version, the duet, or if it's when Miguel's singing to Coco. Any of those, obviously, that's the tune that sticks with you, I think, for most people, and same for me. So I think that would have to be my favorite as far as just the pure emotion that comes with that song. But obviously I love it all. I love what Mama Imelda sings. I love Un Poco Loco. I have all those on repeat. I love that whatever the end song is called. What was it, Julie? before the credits.
La Corazon or Proud Corazon.
The Proud Corazon.
Yeah, that one. I none of them. It's interesting. When I listen to the soundtrack, I don't skip any of them. I love every single one of those songs because sometimes you get one, it's like, oh, skip, get to the next one. But I can't wait for each song to come up every time I listen to it. So.
Yeah. So lots of comments. There's even Magda saying "Remember Me" by Ernesto. So his version specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So Giovanni.
Yeah, that's why I got excited when Julie said it. Proud Corazon. That's my favorite of the whole soundtrack. But I agree with Dan though. Like a song's almost over, and I'm like, oh, this is almost over. But I know what song's coming next, so I'm so excited about it. So yeah. But yeah, you guys really said it though. Just like it's a great way to end the film. So much emotion going on screen. You're just so happy. Everyone's all together. Definitely my favorite song.
So mine's got to be when Hector is singing they flash back when he's singing it to young Coco. That version specifically, I feel that. Love it. So
did you guys notice that there's a song missing on the soundtrack?
Which one?
The techno song when he goes inside.
Oh yeah.
That one's on the Spotify. On the Spotify version.
The Spanish version.
Oh. Okay.
Oh yeah. That's
Okay, I need to find that.
Which one are we talking about?
Yeah. Hang on, I'll have to look here.
It's like the techno beats when he first walks into right before he plays
it's when he walks into Ernesto's
the Familia song.
It's what's the type of music, like cambia, like that, or that's the dance, but
it's like the DJ's playing.
Right.
Oh. Yeah, I thought that whole party scene, I thought that was on the soundtrack. Because I have the CD version.
Oh, I couldn't find it.
Isn't it just like that whole party scene?
Oh, maybe I've just missed it.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe I've just missed it.
Yeah.
You should pull it up.
So
because it might
the tech. Yeah. So right here, it's Jalele, which I'm sure that's just.
Yeah, I think because that comes that whole party scene in Ernesto's mansion. The music for that is on my CD.
Hold on, I just didn't.
It's right here.
Oh,
track 5.
Sorry.
By the Mexican.
Yeah, that's the one.
By the Mexican Institute of Sound.
Okay, I didn't know if there was another one within that scene that wasn't there. So it is there then. Okay.
No, it's because I didn't download it to my phone.
Jalale.
But yes, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
You know, someone's mentioning, and you should look into the story of La Llorona, which I don't know the story of. I know that it's my brother-in-law said it's because he speaks Spanish that has something to do with like a sad woman. But
okay, sorry, just making sure. Oops, sorry.
That's the one. That is the one.
I'm sorry, just downloaded it to my phone.
Turning it off because now we're gonna have to cut that from the live stream, or else it's gonna be like copyright concerns.
No, I won't pick it up. But it's interesting. I love that song so much, and yet I have no idea what they're saying. The La Llorona.
Oh yeah, right.
I have no idea what it's about or what they're saying, but I love the melody, and I love the arrangement that's specifically done for Coco, because I went after I listened to the traditional versions of it, and I love what they did with it.
Right. So yeah, we're getting all the chats. So halele.
I know. Sorry guys.
Halale.
I like that song.
Yes.
None of us speak a lick of Spanish. I love it. We are so bad at this.
I know. Are we the most qualified people? We're all wearing the stuff. I don't know. So I think we covered them then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, perfect. How about you want to start getting down into the nitty gritty a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
So I noticed at our theater, and I have not looked elsewhere. I should have done this just as far as research. IMAX. Is there no IMAX version?
Wasn't it ours?
So did you see that announcement that just went out?
Oh, apparently not.
Oh. It was just announced. It was on, I think, Lee tweeted it or Pixar Coco, the official Twitter feed. Gio, do you know which one it was?
I can't remember, but I did see it though. That they're going to start this weekend, right, at select IMAX theaters.
Yeah,
perfect.
This weekend. Yeah, but I looked at select, and I have several by me. There's one at an aquarium. They played Rogue One last year, and then there's just the one at the regular movie theater. And I looked it up, and none of them are playing it by me that I could find, which is a bummer because I really want to see this thing in IMAX.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
We have tons, so I'll look.
Yeah, I'll come to you guys then.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Good excuse to get there finally.
Yeah. So, so you guys all, I'm just making sure because I don't know if every theater showed this. Did your theaters also show after Olaf's that little short introduction of
Yes.
like, thanks for watching
Yes.
Pixar Coco? Like that was a cool little thing to have in front of there.
That was nice.
I love when they do that. They've done that. They did that in front of another of their films, and I can't remember which one. But these guys are such class acts. Like I love, like what other animated movie or movie in general has an introduction from the filmmakers talking about the heart that they put into it and hoping sincerely that we enjoy the film. Like they are. I just love it. That was so classy of them.
Yeah. So I loved the fact that it was different music. It wasn't the standard Disney music when they did the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The mariachi version.
Absolutely.
Essentially, yeah.
And then it goes right into essentially the Papel Picado introduction.
It's just
Brilliant.
genius.
Which
I know
really-
we've talked about it so many times, but I think that's so beautifully.
Well, you and I talked about it a bunch, but I don't think we've talked about it on these hangouts
Not,
because
no?
not with us, no.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did.
Julie, you hinted at it because you had seen the opening at Pixar.
Oh, you're right. You're right, but I didn't want to give it away. So
Right.
yeah.
You essentially said you're like, guys, the way they introduced the family tree in this movie is so clear and so brilliantly done. I can't wait for you to see it. That's all we got.
Wasn't it though?
It was. So
It
as soon
was.
as it started,
It really
like,
was.
Julie, you were right. That is
Oh, I just think that was so beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah.
perfect.
Storytelling. I'm
From
telling you,
a storytelling stance and from an artistic stance, the way, just like the brilliance of that's just an art form. That's just pure art right there, how that film opens.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. It's a great way to set it all up. It goes right into it.
Mhm.
What's funny is somebody else had contacted us on Twitter afterwards, and they said, "Can we just talk about the fact that Mama Imelda, who it all comes out in that intro, that she didn't sulk after her husband left, after she thought he just left. She picked up and just said, I just got to make a living and just get going." She's like, she's a kick butt lady.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
all women are.
Yeah, I think that was obviously purposely done, was to make her a very strong person. She didn't rely on him, and she was able to, get right back up and provide. And I think that was an obvious point to make.
Yeah, absolutely. People are talking about that the lighting was shifting in that scene.
Yes.
About
During
Picado.
the darker moments, it got cloudier
Yes, that was
Left.
so
And raining.
cool. Yeah.
and rainy. Yeah, and then the music obviously goes more somber.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like my next note that I wrote down is that the movie really gets going. It moves. And my note at the very beginning, and these are my notes that I took when I was just sitting in the dark of the theater.
Can you read that?
It's some of them actually the sentences like overlap, and I'm like, dang it. But yeah, I wrote that it really gets moving right away, and it's crazy that like you can hold that clip almost like that pace almost throughout the whole thing. So that's
Well, Miguel keeps narrating too.
right. Yeah.
And what I was telling you before we went live, what Danny was telling me when I was there was that Lee, as a director, that's how he likes to do his films, is very fast paced. He gets right to it. If you compare it to Toy Story 3, I remember the first time I saw that and how it gets right into the titles.
Mhm.
It's like do 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 do,
Right.
and it's like you are right in the action. The train's already going. The story has started, and it never loses steam. So I can see that same style and that same pace in Coco, and I think that a lot of that stems from Lee.
Yeah. And in the comments, Riley just jumped in and said, "Do I need to watch the film to watch this?" Yes, you should watch the film before you watch this.
Yeah, 'cause
Sorry, we want you to stay, but
we're talking about.
we're talking
We don't wanna
spoilers.
spoil it for you.
Yes, and other people.
But you know what's
Other people, thanks for chiming in and saying that too.
You know what's interesting is though it's fast paced, it didn't feel too fast. It felt appropriate.
Yeah, did you notice there was a couple spots that the camera kind of the story kind of slowed down a little bit, like when they were taking out the leather from the truck. And well, I'm sorry, it's like in the beginning, they took the leather for the shoes out of the truck, and then you see Dante, and then Dante walks up to go to Miguel's hideout up the roof, and he sits for a minute, and then he scratches himself. Like it was just kind of paused long enough to like have that moment. Like he didn't need to scratch himself. You know what I mean? He just, it was very slow. And I just thought that was like very beautifully done. Like how that pacing wise.
It knew the right times to take a breath. And speaking of that scene up in that attic space, literally one of my favorite scenes, not only in the film, but one of my favorite cinematic scenes I've seen in a long time. It might be a funny one to choose as your favorite scene, but man, did that animation and the music and the whole overall feel of that scene, wow. Yeah. I don't know if we want to talk about favorite scenes yet, but that one is on my list.
Well, you said cinematically, and I have a scene that was like one of my favorite, like cinematically. I was like, wow, this isn't just animation. This is a film scene right here. This is a live action film scene. And it's when Miguel goes to the Mariachi Plaza in Santa Cecilia, and he's looking for the guitar, and everyone's turned him down.
I love that.
He's just kind of walking, and there's this kind of harsh white light, whitish blue light, and he's just kind of looking around, kind of lost. The way the camera's moving and the way the people are moving around him, stunning. I mean, that's a film scene right there.
Yeah, everything
that's
about
not just
that.
animation. That's a film.
Yeah,
that's a cinematic, beautiful shot right there.
Yeah. So when I was writing my notes, the only time that during the whole movie that she leaned over to me and told me to write something down was the lighting and the look of that scene when he was seeking the guitar.
It was after. It was right before he goes and talks to great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Oh, and that's when we get that great shot we've seen in the trailers with the fireworks and out of focus with the guitar, the end of the guitar kind of in the forefront of the frame.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shots in the movie. Again, very, very film, very cinematic. The whole movie is really a film. That's how I felt.
Danny said you nailed it.
Oh, well, thank you. It's funny. It's because I saw Coco. I've seen Coco like 4 times now, and I saw Once Without You, and the first full time I've seen it, because I saw half of it at Pixar, and the first full time I saw it, you stayed home and I saw it, but I told you about that scene specifically, and I said it has nothing to do with it, but it was just that shot. It was just it's a film.
Yeah,
like it's.
And so we have a user saying the guitar strings in Much Needed Advice. That same scene we were talking about in the little crawl space area. Yeah, love that cue, and I'm so glad they included that in the soundtrack, because I didn't know if they were going to. In fact, I didn't know if it was going to play out the same way as it did in the teaser. Or if that was just how the teaser was edited. But I was so glad to see it pan out the same way, because I love the music in that scene, and I love listening. That's another one of my favorite tracks, with the vocals from the TV, and how everything Ernesto was saying ties into the overall story at the end in some way. The power of music and seizing your moment and all those things. It's so subtle, and then when you watch it again, they're all kind of these little foreshadowing moments that I love.
Yes.
Yeah. So Dan, in that scene where he's in his little hideout, and I don't know, we haven't talked about this yet, but there's one tiny moment in that scene, and you guys tell me if you guys saw it too, which made it. It is like literally like a second and a half, and it is when it's towards the end, and it's when he's really feeling it, and he's going like this, and then he like inches back like that.
Yes, I love that's like when you hit that sweet note. TJ, as a musician, you play.
But he like squinches back again, and then he squinches back, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's like me when I'm trying to like air guitar in the car or something.
Perfect. He was just like, he was in the moment. He was like, he knew he was hitting that sweet note. He was getting it right. Like when you're making music and you do that, that is kind of that was so accurate and so real. And the animation and the acting that the animators were able to portray. Love it.
I know, and I wish I knew who animated that specific moment, because I wish I was in the dailies when that was shown, because I bet that tiny moment when he, like, with the close shot, I think that would have just knocked everyone out, because that to me, that 1 second made that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots.
Oh, go for it, TJ.
I was going to say lots of yeses in the comments on that. My exact note from the theater was love Miguel's face when he gets lost in the music. Yeah. So, yeah, same.
I knew, because he plays guitar, so. You know,
if they're on this channel, they should have watched our review of the Coco guitar.
True.
So that's another great moment for sure. Mm-hmm. That was one of my highlights. So I guess, we'll stick on the scene thing since we've been talking about a couple of those.
Oh yeah, let's talk about like favorite scenes.
Somebody else talked about the same one that Giovanni mentioned, as far as the
hands.
The hands. That's a funny thing too, because at Animation Collaborative, my instructor is Victor Navone.
Amazing.
And I was like,
he animated that scene.
Yes. I was like talking to him. I was telling him how it was. I'm like, my favorite shot in the whole film was with the hand. And he's like, oh, I animated that shot. And I was like, I just loved watching it. And I really look for. I'm glad they released it online too recently, because you just watch that scene over and over again. But I love just the little acting in there, the choices and everything, even with the hands. So yeah, that was one of my favorite moments. Another moment I really loved. This is more emotional side. Was at the end when they're going. It's 1 year later. They're about to go over the bridge to the land of the living, and you just see that embrace with Mama Coco and Hector after all this time. Mm-hmm. Well, oh my gosh, that part right here. I mean, if we're talking about anything that really hit me super hard, that was the one moment that really hit me the hardest. Was just seeing that embrace, them finally be getting together again. Really did love that.
Yeah.
And going off that moment when he crosses over, and it's almost like a release or a relief when he can actually go without falling through the bridge. And it's for the first time.
Yep.
You see that moment of pause where he kind of is going across, and then it's like, whew,
Yeah.
And did you guys like how Hector was all tattered, and he still is wearing the same type of clothes, but now he's all tailored?
All nice. Yep.
It all looks nice. I just thought that was like a really sweet thing, but he still looks like he's still wearing the same kind of stuff. It's just looks a little more put together.
Yeah. That scene, by the way, talking about going over the bridge, I thought it was kind of funny. One of the things that I laughed about in my head is why do they even have the security customs line if the bridge stops you from going over yourself? So like when
it's just added.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, I mean, because if not, everybody would still.
Everyone would just be falling through all the time, and then they would have to go get him out.
But I love like the Foley work, the audio when he's going through the marigold petals. It sounds more like it's like big piles of leaves, and that's just so cool how it was like so. Whoosh, whoosh. Oh, it's okay. I didn't want to go through anyway. Like
the sound people and the Foley people. They're like way down the credits, but they deserve so much more credit than they get. That like sound is so important. That's like every little thing that you hear. A moment that stands out to me is when the musician, the one that Miguel is shoe shining, when they're talking about music and his family. When he says, "Show me what you got, muchacho," and he hands the guitar, and you know that the vibration, that you hear when it's like the hollowness of the guitar, and you can hear that when he hands. Just little sounds like that. Every little thing needs to be captured, and those Foley artists are like remarkable.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite scene?
Cinematically.
Well, not even cinematically, because I have one that's like my favorite.
Well, I don't know if it's favorite scene in the movie, but the one that got me visually was with Chicharron.
That's what I was going to bring up.
So. The thing that I felt there was the framing. Everything was framed just so ridiculously amazing. So like there's like a wide shot right after Chicharron fades, and you've got all these things on the sides here. So I'll even frame it out here. You've got like big black on the sides here. you've got Miguel here, and you've got the great hammock going like this, and then Hector sitting in it. You see the weight of the hammock come up a little bit, and just like the way that was framed out, and the way that it was shot. I mean, the camera, the camera team, they deserve a ton of credit there for choosing the different lenses and layout and everything like that, because that was just absolutely brilliant. And somebody wrote Chamaco. Yeah.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, we now say Chamaco all the time.
Yeah.
You guys?
I call my son Chamaco all the time.
Yeah.
Let's go, Chamaco.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes. The other one was in the cenote. Like I said, the pit, the lighting in there was off the charts. And then I'm going to jump to that cenote scene because I want to talk about it. So,
well, let me say the one scene that got me emotional, that it's kind of like in a scene that you wouldn't think that you would get emotional in. It's actually right after Miguel performs Un Poco Loco with Hector, and Hector looks at him in the framing of it, and he goes, "I'm proud of you.
I'm so proud of you."
Yes. I thought you were going to say that, because that got me too.
Oh my God. The look on his, the animated look on his face was just like, it was so sincere.
Yeah.
It was very beautifully done. Again, another animator who knocked it out of the park.
But do you think that was a little foreshadowing there?
Well, yes, I do, with the story and stuff, but it was so genuine before.
Yeah.
It was just a beautiful moment, and I got a little choked up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, even that whole the whole scene with Un Poco Loco, even the second time too, I was just wanted to start cheering in the audience, like I felt like I was in that crowd watching this scene. I was just getting so hyped watching Miguel and Hector perform. Like you get so excited even before it starts. You're like, come on, Miguel, you got this. You got this. You're like, you can do it. Yeah, you just feel like you're right there as well. I love that. Love that scene.
Yeah. So that leading up to that, the awesome gag that I like, probably the thing that I laughed at the most, which is the stupidest thing, is the one dude jamming out to the nuns playing accordions.
Dude, that's I'm so glad you love that moment, because that gets me every time. That I love. Another subtle one is when Miguel's that same scene, but moments before, when Miguel's like, "I'm gonna perform Remember Me." He's like, no, and then he's like everyone's gonna be doing that, and then everyone's going.
The guy with like the glass.
Everyone's got their version of it, and it's like classic. Like everyone's got that overplayed song they hear everywhere. It's like,
but now
something different.
But now after seeing it, the second time, and knowing that he's probably saying, "Don't play that song, don't play Remember Me," because that's special, but just between him and Coco.
Oh, I definitely got that. Definitely.
Yeah.
The next time I watched it, that was definitely foreshadowing there. That the subtle acting there, absolutely. But just the humor in that moment, it's just so funny to see, because it happens in real life where you have that one hit and then everybody jumps on it and does their own rendition, and then it gets overplayed.
Yeah.
Like even the clothing designer, whoever she was, who Hector is in cahoots with.
Oh yeah, I think he calls her
when
like
he goes up the window.
Yeah,
I think he calls her
when
Ceci.
he goes climbs up the window, or even she has it playing in the background. Like obviously everybody's into that song.
I did laugh at that he knocks on the window and that's playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do want to go back real quick to that scene with Chicharron again, because there was one other moment from there. Well, there's a lot of moments, so maybe we'll save that and come back to it. Do you guys have other stuff that you want to talk about with that scene?
Well, yeah, I do actually. If you want to go to that scene, because I was gonna say my top 3 favorite scenes, I think, because I don't know if I mentioned them in this topic yet, but were the Chicharron scene, the one above in his hideout, that scene, and then of course at the end when Miguel sings to Mama Coco. I mean, how could that not make your list? I think those are my 3 most prominently favorite scenes, but then of course there's so many that I could mention, but I think those are my top 3.
Yeah.
I also like the camera work when Miguel's trying to push through the crowd to get to Ernesto de la Cruz in the party right before the sunset spectacular.
That was more subtle acting. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the camera work and the angles they chose, and that it's.
Well, we talked about it on one of the teasers too. That
Right.
it's like you feel you can. It's the handheld camera then.
You
when
feel
he's weaving between.
Yeah, you feel small like Hector. Like that's totally what it's like to be in a crowded bar or a crowded concert trying to get through somewhere, especially if you're on the floor.
Right.
I just felt that was like real.
Yeah. People are saying, imagine if the Land of the Dead was a real place. I would totally go there. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention. So, is it okay if I mention like a specific
Go for it.
thing that I really liked in this movie? Oh no, do it. So what I really loved is the characters are stylized. They look like humans, but they're not like super, realistic. But whoever it was that decided to put the peach fuzz onto Miguel's
face when he's blowing in the bottle.
Yes. It was like a really cool moment because the way the light shined, I really liked that.
It's the details.
But they're not super realistic humans. They're still stylized. But the fact that they took the time and put like a peach fuzz,
peach fuzz there.
I loved it.
That's amazing.
They're those little things like that. They've been really upping their game. Like I'm sure, and this is totally not even related to Coco, but did you see that screenshot someone posted from the Incredibles 2 teaser where you can see
shirt?
Yeah, on the shirt. If you zoom in, you can see like whatever you call that coming off the shirt.
Oh yeah,
like a fuzz.
Yeah. Like you have to zoom in way like close to see it, but then it's like totally realistic. Like nobody would ever even really notice that, but they do, and that's the thing. They go above and beyond because they know they're true artists, and even though most people won't notice that or care, it's a way for them personally to take it to the next level.
Yeah, it all adds to those layers of the scene.
Yeah.
So I'll wait on the chicharron. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
So as we're running through the town at this point, we've already seen a couple Easter eggs. Clearly, everybody saw the Pizza Planet truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got the right after that when Miguel's kind of like leaving town and he's going to go to Mariachi Plaza to go shine shoes. We see the Buzz and Woody piñatas, and there's a Mike Wazowski there as well, I believe.
Yes.
So do we think the Mike Wazowski is just another character, or is it because they're doing the TV show?
Oh, that's a good. That's a good point. That's a good call. I mean, I was just happy. At the second time, it took me the second time. I was really upset with myself because I'm like, was that Mike? I couldn't know that was Mike. And the second time, I literally just did like a hands up in the air. I was so excited to see him hanging when I saw him the second time.
Me and Giovanni both have Mike Wazowski on our Disney Store name badges, so we are.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Oh, the Epic Norwal is saying that they saw an Incredibles poster in the movie. Did you guys see any of that?
I heard somebody mention that. I have not yet, but somebody mentioned it that it was in the scene. Maybe some in the comments can verify. I don't know, Dan, you saw it in the scene where, like around the Un Poco Loco scene. It's in that area. I don't know if that's where it was, but did you see it?
I do have a little insight into that. So our friend Danny Arriaga, he is the character art
Designer.
director. Yeah. And he actually designed the poster that you do see as an Easter egg, and it's the Incredibles family, and they're all skeletons. And it's very quick. So I did end up seeing it. It is in that scene in the streets. I don't know if it was before or after the Un Poco Loco. It's when the something has all those sparks going off of it, and it's like spinning.
Oh yeah, that's the before.
Yeah. So it's right as it the camera turns. It's like in the shadows, and it gets illuminated by
that firework
thing. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes. So that is in there, and Danny was able to show me an image of what he did because he had it with him, and it was really cool that he was the one that actually ended up designing it, and that he gave me that little insight there. It took me a couple times to actually find it.
That is awesome.
That's
the comments,
cool.
They're saying that as well. So yeah, it's during the scene where people are lighting fireworks in the streets.
Exactly.
And Paulina's chiming in saying that she saw it as well. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so quick quiz question for you guys as we all sit here.
Oh, this is like what he does on the podcast
What?
to me.
So we're now at the point as we're like kind of like talking about the movie. What year did Ernesto de la Cruz die?
Oh, I know.
Oh, can I guess? Was it 1942?
Yeah.
You're right.
All right. Okay.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, so he's crushed by the bell in 1942. So let's see. Going through the hacienda, shining mariachi shoes. I just thought that the compound that the Rivera family lives in is just a beautiful compound. How it's like laid out and like I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I also put in the comments of the YouTube video. There's one other thing that I wanted to talk about that I'm pretty much going to tell everybody that it's required reading.
I was going to bring that up.
So you need to, I'm holding this up, this Coco, a story, and it's of course backwards here, a story about music, shoes, and family. I linked to it in the YouTube video comments already, or in the description. You need to read that because it provides so much more awesome background into the story and extra things that you can tell were probably part of the original script. And it does all
like
Miguel's sister's name.
Yes.
Who's she named after?
So Miguel's sister's name.
The one that makes that little snarky look at him?
No.
No,
The little baby that's
Oh, at the end. Okay.
Yes.
So is that his cousin at the beginning? Like the one that
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's his cousin at the beginning, but do you know what the daughter's name is?
I did not read the book, so no. I do not.
Any guesses?
No, because there's like a million trillion names out there.
So it's Socorro, so it's also Coco.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. I'm just
So they name her after Mama Coco. So Socorro.
That's actually beautiful. I kind of wish that got in somehow.
Well, so the other thing that's in the book that I'm telling you guys, seriously, you need to read it, is also it does all these awesome flashbacks. So like when you're reading it, it'll all of a sudden flash back to when Mama Coco is a child with, or when Coco's a child, not Mama Coco, when Coco's a child with her mom, with Imelda, and they're like literally at that young age. And they talk about Mama Imelda's cat is following around Mama Coco, and
we know that cat.
So we know that's Pepita. So literally, like Pepita was around like forever, and like always her spiritual cat. Like so, when she comes back at the end and like transforms down and everything, I'm like, if people read the book, this would mean so much more. Like it is so cool. All these flashback scenes. And they talk about like Coco dancing, and you can see some of that in the Papel Picados. And she takes the shoes that they make, and then the family no longer makes like dancing shoes. They only make like work shoes and all these other things.
And you can read more about that in the history, the family tree book too. They talk about the dancing shoes stuff.
Yeah. So, but that book, I'm telling you guys, like you have to get it. It's so cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. It's an easy read. It's considered a middle grade, like so middle school novel, but it's really good.
So, okay, I gotta ask, did it impact your experience since you had checked that out before seeing the movie? Did you read it beforehand?
Yes, he did.
So, did it like?
I read the book. I read The Art of Coco. I did everything.
But you knew what was coming. Then did that like affect the experience at all?
No. So I cried reading the book. And because there's a couple moments in the book that are even like a little bit more intense, I think the way that it's written. Really? But when I saw it in the theater, once you get the visual and you get the audio, and the score with it and everything, no, I mean, it didn't take away from it. I felt it didn't take away from it at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what I thought. But I was just curious because for someone who like tried to avoid just about everything after the trailers, I was just wondering if that, affected the emotional aspect of the story, I guess. But I guess not once you see those visuals. That's what I had expected though.
Right.
Yeah.
So somebody's saying, did Mama Coco have a sibling?
Yes.
Yeah, she did. And who was it?
Tia Victoria.
Tia Victoria.
So guys, I do have some breaking news.
Okay, I'm listening.
Oh, wait, was Tia Victoria? No, Tia Victoria was Abuelita's daughter, or
Right.
Abuelita's sister.
We'd have to get the book.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
So Dan is breaking news to us. Let me guess, the book's all fake.
It's not news. It's more of a visual of what we were talking about. So Danny just texted me the poster of The Incredibles that's on display.
Fantastic.
It's very hard to see. It's
okay.
Kind of bright. Oh,
Cool.
there we go.
If you get it, get it as close as you can, and it'll like take it down. There you go.
There we go.
Awesome.
So that is what's on display there in the streets, and that was designed by Danny himself.
That's amazing. And you know what? We've kind of talked about this before. And
thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Danny. That is awesome. Now everybody knows, because it's really a blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was like a late addition, having The Incredibles 2 in there, because Toy Story 4 was originally slated to be after Coco. So I wonder if that was a late addition. I wonder.
I don't know. And I also wonder if the piñatas were meant to be the Toy Story 4 Easter egg.
Yeah,
or
it could have been like
was
Arlo and MU. Could have been like left.
Exactly. I wonder if that was the case, or if they just made for great piñatas at the start, just out of coincidence. They just thought they would look great as piñatas, or was it a specific tie-in to Toy Story 4?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
We were not there, unfortunately.
So let me see. So Miguel's face. Miguel gets the bad news about the shoes when they have some interest in the photo. Lighting in the scene with the plaza.
Can I do
Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
There's a thing I want to shout out to the Crowds animation team on this film.
Woo!
Because I feel like we haven't seen like Crowds this big since like MU, I would say. Like I feel like, right, we would say MU probably, but like the second time I went in, like just watching, like, you know, they're not just doing just, you know, standing there. Like there's like a little story like in so many of these characters in the background. Like they just went like above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved watching them on that second viewing. So yeah, shout out to them for just really like going all out, especially in that you know, where the train's going, like some guy's just chasing the train and he falls and his head falls and rolls, like just little stuff like that. Just throughout the whole film, you see those things. So
and I believe there's 80 different skeleton characters that they made.
That they just kind of repurposed.
Yeah, I believe there's 80 different skeletons, if I remember.
So the crowd scene that stood out to me and blows my mind every time is the big Sunrise Spectacular Arena.
Yes.
Though I want to know how many skeletons are there in that arena. I feel like before that, the biggest crowd scene maybe the Cars races, maybe.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Those are huge as well, but this might have rivaled that. I'm not sure, but that one it blows my mind every time.
But I feel like the Cars like crowd scenes, like they just had to like bop them up and down and stuff.
True.
Like this is like they had them actually like moving and doing stuff. Yeah, the Crowds animation was ridiculous, and I absolutely wrote that down too because that was just like, oh my god. Yeah, so that was cool. So I got to my note of the thing that I wanted more of.
Okay. What's this?
I wanted more Alebrijes.
Oh.
Because
they're all over the place.
No. But I wanted more, like, I don't know. I felt like I could have experienced more of them because I wanted to know more of the story of them. I was obsessed with those characters. I know that they wouldn't have added to the story. But there was just something about them that I was obsessed with. I loved. I don't know if you guys saw the video that Lee Unkrich and Adrian Molina like had record. You know, they did like a pre-interview thing, and then they had said like, of course, Lee Unkhrich's was the monkey, Frida Kahlo's monkey, and then Adrian Molina said his was that rabbit/frog that was like,
oh my god,
yeah.
Okay, do you guys? I think that's a sound of something, like an old video game or something.
Like from Frogger or something?
It's something. I feel like that. I don't know.
That little moment was one of those things I was just like, so quirky and weird, but it
Mm-hmm.
like was such a funny moment. Like sometimes things can get so weird. It's like, oh, that was just weird, but that was like weird funny.
But
It was just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it totally fit for there would be like a frog rabbit in like that down depths, like of forgottenness.
Oh, and they talk a lot more in the book about that world too, and how they go down there and it gets darker and grayer. And I mean, obviously you see it, and Hector jumps down, smashes apart, and then like comes back together. Yeah. This is also when we get another, at this point, like where they're at the bridge and they're seeing all these things. This is also when we get another Easter egg, if you will, with John Ratzenberger.
Oh, with the dentist guy?
Yeah, the dentist. And his one line is...
Gracias.
Oh, gracias.
Yeah.
God, thanks.
Okay, I will admit that I did not catch that my first viewing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you recognize his voice when he said that?
Yeah.
Impressive, TJ.
I didn't, but I knew because the premiere they said what his character's name was, and
that's true. Maybe I was spoiled.
And we looked it up, and it said dentist. So when we said, "Oh, you're on your dentist," so Frenda, I was like, "This is gonna be him."
That's true.
Yeah, I didn't know, but that's funny though.
I was trying to figure it out the whole time because like every other voice, like they talk a little more, but I'm like, that wasn't him. That wasn't him. So at the end there, yeah, I didn't know the first time. So I had to have a conversation with somebody, like pointed. I go, oh yeah, that was him.
Well, even my dad asked me after I saw it because he knows that he's in all the movies because he used to watch Cheers and all that, and he was like, he leaned over, he said, "Hey Dan, where was John Ratzenberger?" And I said, "I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, it's something I don't know, but now I do."
Well, you talked about Alebrijes, and I asked our son, because we were talking about Coco this morning. Now, granted, he's 3.5. I said, "What was your favorite part about Coco?" And he goes, "Dante flying." So he liked when Dante turned into an Alebrije.
And
Now,
when his nose pops the color.
Yeah. And then as soon as he said it, he ran up and got the stuffed animal, because we have the stuffed animal. So he's back over there.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
No. Mine might take us off on a different thing. Go for it.
That's fun. A friend of mine leaned over me the first time we saw that, and that scene where Dante like falls into like the fog and like kind of flies up with these little wings. She's like, that reminded me of this scene with Dot in A Bug's Life when she just like falls off and she falls into the thing, and then she goes and you see a little kind of flying up.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're right.
That was yeah. So. Yeah.
So what were you gonna say, Dan?
Oh, I was just going back to you were talking about the underworld of the forgotten or the almost forgotten, and you were gonna have an insight there. I think because you said something from the book about that, but I was also just gonna say how much I love that world building of the whole Land of the Dead, where you have kind of the upper class, the ones that are remembered. And then you have like the slums, and these people are being forgotten, and the way that Hector walks is different. He's more yellow than the other more pristine skeletons. Ernesto's very white, and all these skeletons down there like Chicharron and Hector, they're being very yellowed, and they're Chicharron is to the point where he can't even walk anymore. Hector looks like he's almost to that point as well because he's limping and he walks like Miguel tries to imitate, and he's almost in denial because he's like, skeletons don't walk like that. Yeah. But I just love that whole world building aspect of these different levels of the Land of the Dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love going back to that scene down there. We I don't know. I think you were going to mention it later. Should we hold off on that scene still?
Let's just talk about it.
Okay.
Let's just talk about it. Yeah.
My favorite shot is when after Chicharron he fades away and he goes off into the night, and Hector picks up the shot glass and raises it to him and takes the drink and then puts it face down, and then there's that shot of the one shot glass still full and then the one turned over.
Yes.
And then you see Miguel kind of processing what just happened in the background, kind of like a rack focus. And oh man, I just had to get it out there. That's my favorite shot in that whole
That
scene.
was a gorgeous shot.
We talked about that shot
because first off, the glasses look absolutely real.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel the thickness of a shot glass that's there. The lighting on it is amazing. But the other thing that I wondered is was there any type of foreshadowing there? Because there's 2 drinks. 1 drink is death. 1 drink is not. So it doesn't mean that Chicharron drank it and died, but Chicharron was there. There's 2 drinks. He drinks it, and then, he drank it after.
Oh, like a foreshadowing to the twist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Poison.
So
I had not thought about that.
Like it's almost like 2 glasses. 1 drink is death. 1 drink is not.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually brilliant. I could see that being the case.
I don't know if that would be the case because it's kind of a stretch, and it wasn't like Chicharron drank it or anything like that.
But it's more of like it's more of symbolic. I think that it's a nice bit of foreshadowing that I would give them that credit. Like some people, I'm like, oh man, like that. I'm giving them way too much credit. Like they would not have thought about that. But I wouldn't put it past Pixar for that. That could be some fantastic foreshadowing there, or just like a subtle, like I said, a subtle symbolism. Especially
just because they held that shot for a couple seconds too.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll take it.
Yeah. So, and then the other part I was going to mention about that scene is from Chiquinho's score, and if you just listen to that by itself, it's already eerie enough when he fades, but that noise when he fades is like.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite tracks on the song.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one scene that I was like, we talk about perfect story, nothing's there. I know why it was here because it serves a very quick purpose later, but it seemed like a lot more of a setup for 2 seconds later, which was the Frida papaya scene.
I knew you were going to say that.
Okay, why?
I knew it. Because when you said it only served a 2-second purpose later on, which was to basically get them all into the stage through the papaya. It was. I mean, I could see that. I mean, it was maybe a little longer than necessary because you're right. It doesn't set up a whole lot.
But I think it does. I think she sets up because she's the one that talks about the Sholo dog and that the Sholo dog guides.
She does, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about like her whole scene.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking about just that exact moment where he sits with her and he goes, it could go da 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 da. Like, and that it's funny. And then she does the papaya thing and she's like, they crawl out and she's like, but now we need it with more fire. And like, I was just like, that scene felt like that could have been that at least part of that could have been truncated, at least to me. Okay. Now, again,
I agree. I hadn't thought about it like that. So in that sense, I don't think it was that much of a, sticking out like a sore thumb. But when you mention it like that, I think, it could have been trimmed a little bit.
Now, again,
I disagree.
Now, that's fine. Again, this is me.
But I would never have thought about it until you brought it up.
and this is me literally being picky, trying to like sit here and think what was potential waste, what could change. This was literally after the fact. Like, what didn't? I mean, it was hard to come up with anything that I didn't like. That was it. And it wasn't that I didn't like it. I just wondered.
You just wondered what purpose it served.
Could it have been cut? Could it have been reduced? And that kind of stuff. That would be my only scene that I feel that way in.
What I like about the Chicharron scene that we were talking about, and speaking of how every scene has a purpose, I love how that sets up the idea that this could very well happen to Hector, that this could be his fate in the end, because it's Pixar, that we know they like to go dark and we know they like to go for the tears. Yeah. And it didn't rule it out as a possibility that this could happen to Hector. So I liked that basically set the stakes, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That whole scene. And I did wonder for a time, I'm like, are they going to do it? Are they going to, pull a bing bong and make him gone forever at the end? Or are they, because you remember, TJ, we were talking weeks before the movie came out, and we're like, after we had heard the lullaby version of Remember Me from the toy, we're like, oh no, it sounds like he's going to be.
You guys both thought that was going to happen.
I texted you, I go, dang it, he's going to be a goner like Bing Bong.
Yep. And so I could have seen that happening. And that scene really got me thinking, I'm like, oh, what are they going to pull that on us. So I love the purpose. Speaking of purposes for scenes, I love that whole scene and the setup for what could potentially happen later on.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. One other quick note, just because it's in the order of my notes, I love that Pepita's breath, when she blows it, can track steps.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
I just thought that was cool.
Well, tell me what you think about this. I did have a thought. It's not really a flaw, but more of just what your thoughts on it are. When Miguel's on stage, I know his face is painted, but he's playing a guitar and he's in a red hoodie. But they're all kind of, they see the performance happening. I know that it doesn't really show them ever really looking at the stage, but do you think it was like too obvious that was Miguel, or do you think that he was appropriately disguised?
Oh, you're talking about when his family's looking for him and everything?
Yeah, during that part when like they're following his steps and it leads them up to his performance of doing Un Poco Loco. If it was too obvious that was Miguel, because he never changed outfits or anything.
Yeah, but how I took it, because I
hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I did think about that. In fact, before I just jump in on it, Giovanni, Julie, did you have anything on it? Because I've been blabbing a lot.
Me too.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, so I thought about it, but I thought literally like their attention is finding like people and police officers and security guards. They would never think to look to the stage in my mind, because it's like, these are the performers that were already planned and hired. How could he even be on the stage?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, it was like that was the last place they were going to look.
Yeah, they were searching in the crowd.
Justifying it too, because when I watched it again with that in mind, they never actually look up there. They frame it and they execute the scene very carefully to not make it obvious.
Right.
But I just had, speaking of that scene, since you were talking about like the footprints and the breath, it just made me think of it. But that's basically my conclusion as well.
Yeah. So in that whole scene there where we're getting all the different, we talked about the accordion on. So I guess in the pit, it's making me think about it now. That's where we get another Easter egg of Michael Chiquinho in skeleton form.
I caught that right away.
Yeah.
Yep, that was super cool.
Well, yeah, because the hat gives it away.
Right.
He always wears that.
I don't know. It wasn't even the hat that did it. It was just they captured his look like perfectly in a skeleton.
Somebody posted on Twitter. There's an actual photo of him in that exact outfit in real life.
Yeah.
Oh,
like, from an event. Yeah. So he's actually like wearing it.
And there was actually two Pixar balls. There was the hat, the luchador hat.
Right.
And then there was also the one that was on the table when the monkey was running around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which in the teaser, they get you in the teaser trailer.
They make you think
it's the monkey that attacks the guy's head, and it's really Dante that comes in and hits the security guard's head off. I was like, editing.
Yeah. Because they didn't want to give it away.
Right. So I love I also had a note that, we talked about Foley and sound when Miguel's running up the steps to get away from Mama Imelda.
Mm-hmm.
The echoing and the way the steps are in in that stone hallway as he goes
corridor,
up. Yeah, that corridor is like, I just loved like
I'll have to look for that next time.
Yeah, that really stood out. That was also a really super cool moment of like, that's the first time that you hear Mama Imelda sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like great.
For it too, with the lights and everything and the candles.
Yes.
Love that. The lighting in that scene.
Funny is that the toy, like a month before the movie even came out, the toy of her comes with a microphone.
Yeah, so we knew something.
No, but what's silly is that I never even thought of it, because technically that's a spoiler, because she's supposed to be against music.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't even piece that together. So when she starts singing, that actually caught me by surprise.
When we were doing our toy video, when we were in Toys R Us, I purposely didn't say it, but after I turned off our phone and I stopped recording, I had to go to Julie. I'm like, why does she have a microphone? I thought I was like, is she singing?
Yeah.
So, and Dante was Alabrije.
Yeah.
That one was a big one too. People like the first time that, like, after when I got back after I'd seen it, I went back to work at the Disney store, and like several of the girls that worked there, they were like, just answer me one question. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you any spoilers. They're like, no, you need to answer this. I'm like, fine, just what is it? They're like, does Dante die? I'm like, No, because they all thought that he did. They thought that he died. And
absolutely. People at work too.
Yeah,
people at my work too are like, "Is this a spoiler? Is this a spoiler?" I'm like, "No, just watch the film." It's just, They get that.
So is your take that he was an Alebrije the whole time, or that he became one because of what all of that transpired?
I think he's always been one.
And
because how would he be able to cross in the land of the dead? Because you can kind of think about it. You're like, oh, he can see Miguel right away. He crosses right over with no problem. And then at that point in the movie, you're like, oh, that's why, because he's always been one. That's how I saw it.
But
I kind of thought that all Xolo dogs are, because they're the ones that guide.
He was always a spirit guide, but I don't know if he was always an Alebrije, because he seems surprised when he starts like getting all colorful.
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think this is his first mission of actually like getting the people to, I think it's his. But we know that like, what confused me and it was with Pepita, like how she was clearly like a cat and then went in and cat.
I feel like it was almost implying that she had been going back and forth like that this whole time. Right. Even back when Imelda was there, that she would come back as a cat this whole time.
But I feel like it was his first time becoming one because of the surprise and because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not like Dante's taking one person and going like this and taking another person and going like this. Like Pepita is Mama Imelda's. Dante is Miguel's. So,
but is it Miguel's or is it Hector's? Really?
Oh boy!
Dang it!
That's
Whoa!
Julie, you just threw a wrench and stuff.
Because he was trying to get Miguel to Hector, but was he really Hector's?
Which is another foreshadowing moment that I should have caught on to. But.
Oh man, that's good.
The gold tooth.
And that is another one. One of my coworkers had to tell me, and I had seen that 3 times.
And somebody else, Ottertune, said he couldn't use his wings at first either.
Yeah, he definitely hadn't been an Alebrije, I don't think, before.
I just thought that he was just a kind of.
But I think he was always the spirit guide. I just don't know who. I did think I knew who. I thought it was Miguel's, but now you made me.
I'm probably wrong, but it's just something I thought of.
No, I would. My heart's telling me Miguel only because it's their.
Yeah,
I think so
agree
too.
too.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think this was his first time doing it, so therefore that he transformed into it. His wings didn't work.
Okay, yeah, I'm on it. I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
And Hector probably would have made more of like there's Dante sort of thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Does Hector have a spirit guide? Who was his?
Well, then I don't think everyone has their spirit guide.
Oh, not everyone?
Yeah, because that place would be teeming with animals.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
So here's another quiz question. The band that wins the competition that sneaks Miguel in the tuba, what is their name?
I know. Do you guys know?
I don't know.
I don't remember that.
The Chocolate.
Ooh, so close.
Chocolates. Something like that.
It's La Chachalocos.
Oh,
no, I would never have known.
Chachalacos. I wrote it down.
That's close.
Well, great fun fact.
There you go. Chachalacos. Yeah, there you go. So I pointed out that in Chiquinho's score as well, that it's a very Zootopia sound actually when Miguel is getting into Ernesto's tower.
Yes, totally.
It's so much of like the bongos. It's the bongos and the bass riffs.
Oh yeah, I love that track.
That's another good track.
Yeah, but that's like totally Zootopia.
Yeah, it is.
Which I haven't done my soundtrack like full written review yet, but I'm going to comment on that track as well.
Yes, so I thought that was there. And this, I'm just going to continue on the soundtrack real quick too. As far as Chiquinho's work, there was a couple. So the things that I pulled out was Zootopia, and also a lot of it reminded me of Inside Out, with like this, like the.
See, I didn't get that. I know you did, but I didn't.
That airy sound.
Yes,
that airy sound happens. There's a very specific moment. It's when. Now I'm drawing a blank, but it's on the tip of my tongue. But that's exactly what I thought of. It's almost the exact same sound that he pulled.
Yes, Inside Out. It felt like that. And then there was the other thing is, as I said, like there was a couple moments that I felt like some of the worldly aspect of it, even though he didn't do Good Dinosaur, had some of that same worldly aspect of the soundtrack as well. And a couple spots when like Miguel's talking to like his family and all these other things, it distracted me a little bit because I was like, it's almost a little too like American Indian, like that type of feel. And I that could be in the heritage of historic Mexican music, and I'm just not aware of it. I know that obviously they try to do everything totally authentic, but that distracted me a little bit at a couple points.
You know, when I had something kind of a similar thought was the very opening notes of the film. I had a Brave vibe with the flute.
Oh yeah,
the music it didn't open. The score wasn't what I had pictured, especially opening the film with. I do like it, especially now that I've listened to it a lot. But I initially got a Brave vibe. Next time you listen to it, you might agree.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have a question.
Okay.
We have a question, and we can all answer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is from Twitter user Defend Daka.
Yeah. There's 2 questions he had.
There's 3 now.
Oh, cool.
So if you could have an alebrije, what would it look like?
Okay, so mine, because I thought I saw
Like
this
what
question.
animals combined?
Yeah.
So mine would be a crocodile, an alligator with eagle wings.
Ooh.
And it would have like gecko feet that it could stick to a wall.
That is cool. I would have liked to see that in the movie. Okay.
Mine would be a great white shark with tiger legs.
Are you just making this up now?
Yeah, tiger legs, front and back, and a unicorn horn with a mane.
Ooh, a shark with a mane. I love it. I knew you were going to say shark. I was actually going to play.
Oh yeah, great white sharks are my favorite.
Yeah.
Dang. Can I take a rain check on this one? I can't think of anything good.
Yes, you can think about that for a minute. Giovanni, do you have anything?
You know what? I'm gonna go crazy and say the head of a giraffe with the body of a beaver, just to be the wackiest one in the land of the dead.
That head would be bigger than its body.
Right, you know, just have this head popping around. Like, where's this body on this thing? And it's just this little beaver body.
You realize that we're gonna I'm gonna Photoshop something tonight and text it to you.
And you do realize that I can't follow that, so we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So here's your drawing of
That's
it.
Yeah.
Oh my! You brought it to life.
Oh, see,
PJ,
I wasn't thinking with the neck. I was thinking just like the little beaver head, like the beaver body with just the giant head on it.
No, that's exactly what I pictured, TJ.
Okay, the whole neck. Okay.
Whole neck. Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Giovanni, you should have pitched that to the crew, the art team.
Oh, man.
That's hilarious.
That would have been just as good as the little like weird frog that hopped away.
Yeah, the little
So we'll get to a second question in a second. The other thing I want to talk about and gosh, we're going a long time too, so hope you guys are hanging in there. Is in Ernesto's party when everything's going and we've got the music going and he's looking around, the confetti falling through the sky the whole time too. So you've got so many things that are rendering there. You've got all these lights. You got the music going. You've got Miguel. You've got all the characters, the crowds, but even the confetti going, the reflections off the pool, like it's amazing.
You know what? That's another scene with the pool that felt like a film. Like an old school film, like from like the 40s and stuff, with the girls in the pool and swimming and just the shots, the angles.
Well, it would make sense that he would probably keep his like tastes and vibes still like in that 40s vibe, because that's 1942 when he bong. So do you want to do another question, or do you want to go to continue talking about some of the different points?
My phone died, but I had another good text about alebrijes that are exclusive in Mexico. So when it charges again, I'm going to bring that up. So that we'll have to go back there in a minute. But as for now,
I've got one. Do you know the kind where like the wood is? What is it?
Oh, what like region is the wood from?
Yeah, for alebrijes in Mexico.
Oh, I don't know, Julie.
It's Oaxaca.
Yeah.
What are you, expert?
Well,
I really enjoyed that class.
Expert.
So that was in.
Was one of the classes we took. Like one of the presentations was all about it. Yeah, it was really interesting.
And we bought our first alebrije the same way that Lee Unkrich did at Disney.
Yeah, we bought it at Epcot. I bought it at Epcot.
And they talked about the fact that they came from Oaxaca and all these other things, and they're from the wood that's from there and everything. So really cool.
You know, it's a cool one. I have something to show you guys. This isn't going back to Danny and his wife Esther again. They actually bought a Dante alebrije that they painted themselves.
Oh, cool.
And it's really cool, and it took a lot of work. They both worked on it. Let me I have a picture of it.
Yeah.
This is that. Let me see if I can get it in there.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's nice.
It's super blurry and super bright, but if you saw this thing in real life, the detail they put into that thing, outstanding.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Beautiful.
I guess it's like, I've never seen the kit. It's an actual kit out there. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's the one that you can get at Toys R Us.
That's the one. I just haven't seen it at mine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really good. I don't know if it's gonna be as good as this one though. I mean,
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's
You guys
the
can
one
make
that
it
Leo
work.
wants.
But I was super impressed with that. I had to snap a shot of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you will have to get that now and post a pic when you're done.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I have they gave us each a papita that we were able to paint, but I was taking so long shading my paint, like mixing the colors and everything, that I wasn't able to finish.
Classic Julie.
So one of the other things in the movie here, so we now are with, let's just say we're to the point where I have a great grandson. He takes him around, he sees Pedro Infante, and he goes through all these different things. And we're walking in his area, in like his private area, with all the spoils of everything that people have left him on their ofrendas.
Mm-hmm.
That talks about in that book again that I'm mentioning, that Miguel's looking around and he's really like, there's all these people that are suffering everywhere, and you've got all these piles. Why can't you like give some of this stuff out? So like that part was in there, the spoils of it. And then another like little quick foreshadowing. It's literally like a 2-second foreshadowing, because we find out minutes later that when he says Miguel, and he's got the pedal and he's going to send him back, I give you my blessing, the pedal doesn't ignite.
Wow.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
So that part I thought was really cool, that it's like a little foreshadowing, because it was supposed to start glowing
As soon as he says Miguel.
Yes, and it didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, it wasn't his family member.
Mm-hmm.
The foreshadowing and the story and the twists and the turns and how everything connects so perfectly. Like, it's just, if you watch it again and you see all the thought that went into making sure that every last thing connected perfectly without any holes. Like for example, how they never mention his great-great-grandfather's name. So you would never have the opportunity to think otherwise.
Right.
They never say, oh, well, his name was Hector. And
I took it as nobody knew.
Yeah, that's how I thought too. But then when you see it, it's actually purposely done that way for story reasons and for the twist. But then like Imelda never says she always says my husband beforehand. So like, but it's done in such a natural way that you don't even think about it. I hadn't even questioned it. And in the marketing, we talked about it for months that, Ernesto was his great-great-grandfather. That's all I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't question it. But if you watch the movie and how everything is just interwoven so perfectly like that, and they really thought of everything to make sure everything connected perfectly like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when we were at Pixar and we watched the first, 40, 45 minutes of the film. I knew something was up with Hector. I just felt like he used to be in the land of the living. Something's going on. So when I had a one-on-one interview with Ginny Santos, Byron Bashford, Emron Grover, and Daniel Arriaga. And I was so nervous because I was just one person. There was like 4 like amazing artists in front of me. But I think I did an okay job. But yeah, we haven't released it yet. It'll be on a podcast soon. But when I was done talking to him, I said, you know what? I have a theory about Hector. And they asked what it was. And I said, well, I think my first original theory of Hector was that he had stolen something from someone's not a friend, but like just the gravesite, because if you took something, just like you took
and that he had ended up like Miguel, but he stayed there.
Yes, because no one knew how he was missing. That's what I originally had thought. And then after, I don't even think I told you that. And then after seeing more and more trailers, I was like, wait a second. And I kept thinking like, no, it's got to be something with Ernesto de la Cruz too. Mm-hmm. And so when the little golden book came out, I read it because I had to know if I was right.
Oh my goodness, you couldn't resist?
No, because I felt like he was family then. Like after seeing the trailer stuff, I felt like he was family. I didn't. So I had to know. So I didn't say anything, and I knew whenever the little golden book came out, and then I was like, honey, you need to like read this book faster, because he was reading that other book, and I was like, you need to read this faster because I need to know like what you think about this.
Right.
Do you know what's funny about that story is that actually I heard a version of that story. Like when I was with Danny, he was like, yeah, Julie had this this prediction and that she told us, and she wanted to know if she was right. And I was like, was she right? And he was like, no.
Yeah.
But I was like, so what was her thing? And he couldn't remember at the time. So that was, if he's still watching, maybe that was a fun memory there. Now he remembers. But it's funny that we did talk about that.
Yeah, they were also nice. They're like, well, that's a good theory. And I'm just like, I feel like it's something, because they made like a big deal that if you steal something, you end up here. And I'm like, I felt like that was like foreshadowing something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
so just like look into it.
I didn't try to theorize too much. I didn't want to think too hard about stuff, or else I might have started piecing things together.
It's a great theory though, because then they could have that, eventually they could have that connection in the story too. And
that's what I originally
thought.
That.
Yeah, it's a cool.
That's what I originally thought, that
it.
he ended up there, and now he was like palling up with someone who ended up exactly how Miguel would end up. That's what I originally.
I wonder if that ever was thought of or passed around in the story room.
Yeah.
Or if it was always the way that it is. If Hector's relationship was always what it is in the film.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my theory didn't really revolve around family.
That's all right.
Which is kind of the tagline of this film.
Right. So I had a note too, Ernesto, when he says his line, success doesn't come for free, after he's like, take care of Hector, take care of Miguel. Like, success doesn't come for free. That's a dark line.
Yeah.
Like, whoo.
That's when I knew.
I gotta say, Ernesto, I mean, he was another character I really did enjoy though. Like, even after the twist, like every time, he's like just such this presence when he's on screen though. Like, I don't know but he was really appealing as well.
Yeah.
You want to like him, but you want to hate him, but
you want to like him, like you know, I listen to that version of Remember Me. I'm like, I love that version still. It still gets me pumped up. It's still a great version, even though I know what he did, you know. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
but TJ, that's when I basically knew that something was up, when he said those things, and when Miguel was like, did you regret leaving your family? When he like didn't show any kind of sympathy or remorse for his past or what he did, I was like, something's up. They're not going to leave that message for all of us in the audience, that it's okay to leave your family for your dreams. I'm like, they're not going there.
You're right.
So that's when I'm like, something's up with this guy. I didn't decipher the twist or anything like that, but that's when I knew something was amiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isael is asking in the comments, do you think Coco was a bit predictable? So
Not for me.
Yeah,
But I know some people predicted it, but I honestly didn't.
I guess the only thing that I thought was predictable is that you knew something was up especially once he meets Ernesto for the first time, because that's like 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes in or something. You're like, this just seems a little too good to be true. What's the match blowing out moment here? Like, I don't think that it was predictable though, because I definitely didn't see everything that was coming. And when I was even
do give you a lot of hints that if you're really good at that kind of stuff, that you could figure it out, like the golden tooth,
right?
And the Dante trying to pull Miguel back to Hector, and just a lot of little moments like that, a lot of foreshadowing moments.
Yeah,
you could, but I wasn't trying to during it. Like I kind of put my mind, I try to just get into the story and watch it as it's happening without trying to predict ahead of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
See, Britta's the type that she watches and she tries to predict what's going to happen. I try to just zone in on the moment.
Yeah.
And look for those. I knew there were surprises because people were tweeting, oh, it's a great movie with lots of twists and turns and great surprises. So I knew that there was going to be something, but I didn't try to think of it, and I didn't. So
yeah.
But you could if you wanted to, I think.
Right. So okay, so now we're in that cenote that we were talking about. We talked about the Remember Me scene, that's my version when they flash back there, that I really loved it. But the line that also really gets me, and I had some tears flowing, was she's forgetting me, and Miguel says, "Who?" And then, just the way Miguel says that, and then Hector's telling of, I was hoping one day I could see her, but as soon as she dies, I'm going to fade from here. And I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
They would literally pass each other.
I was like, come on, give him a day.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, oh, that is just awful. The fact that his whole life just wanted to get back to Coco when she was young. And the fact that like he had to suffer his whole the duration of Coco's entire life trying to get back to her, that is like, and the fact that he's now realizing as he's like shaking and lighting up and everything, that like the minute she dies, he's gonna fade. I was like, oh God. Like,
no, so we're still learning about, Dia de los Muertos or Dia de Muertos, because there's two versions. They made it they made sure to put two versions in because it's so people like it both ways.
What do you mean, how to say it?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos or Dia los Muertos?
Yeah.
Yeah, notice Abuelita says it.
Dia de los.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, and the mariachi band member gets his shoe shine. He says it the short way.
Yeah. So
Dia los Muertos. Yeah.
Yep.
I forgot where I was going with that.
They put it in both ways.
we
We're talking about Hector dying with Coco.
Yeah, it's gone.
Come on, trigger it.
It's gone. It'll come back. It's gone.
It will come back like tonight, later on.
Yeah. Somebody said, did they ever mention how old Coco was? I don't think they did, right?
No.
Danny mentioned that he thought that it was late 90s.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, there it is.
So we're still learning about that holiday and stuff, but do you think that twist was story written, or do you think that's really part of the holiday, that when someone passes and forgets you in the land of the living, that you guys do cross each other? Or do you think that was added for story to carry the film?
I do know that the concept of the third death is true.
Yeah.
That when the last person on Earth, the final death, that is a true thing, that the last person on Earth, when the last person on Earth that remembers you dies, then you're forgotten. So, I mean, in a sense,
okay. Okay.
I guess that's a real thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's very much emphasized for the story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it has based, or it's based on something that is a real concept, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I was talking about early on that I wanted to mention was Pepita's roar when they're in that cenote. So when Pepita roars and all the water comes off of all of like the stalactites or whatever, like that blew my mind. That was a totally unnecessary thing. I can't, like, whoever thought of that that extra detail of it then raining down on him was just so cool. It didn't need to be there, but it made it so much better. It plussed the scene, as they say. So yeah, so that I thought was just really cool. And then let's see. So a couple other lines I had. You don't have to forgive him, but we shouldn't forget him.
Awesome.
There's so many of those lines that when you think about them, like, you know, success isn't free. We don't have to forgive him, but you shouldn't forget him. Like, there's a lot of impactful lines in this movie, just talking about, you know, how well it was written again.
Do you know what stood out to me, which I felt was very human and very real, was when Imelda said, I can't forgive you. Because she's like, yes, that might have happened, but I can't forgive you, or however she says it. I thought that was very real and very bold of them to do, because, I mean, for someone who's lived their whole life and afterlife thinking that this man abandoned their family,
right?
You wouldn't just forgive them like that. Right. And I thought that was very. I thought that was very real that they put that in, because they could have, you know, softened it down and had her had her forgive him right off the bat. But I like that it took a little bit more of warming up a little bit, that initially she could not forgive him, and that until she kind of could grasp the entire story of what really happened.
Yeah. And Luis Garza is actually saying Shawshank Redemption on that scene that you said with rain, and that's exactly what I told you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
With the moonlight.
Yep. Okay, so Pepita grabs Ernesto after he's seen and is now no longer the good guy. He's viewed as the villain. I have a question, though. This is a plot question or a story question. So Pepita throws him, the bell falls and crushes him again. But the rules are that you die when no one remembers you. Did he die?
No.
He's just he's probably just trapped under the bell, and that stinks for him. Because you can't get out unless someone takes that thing off. But I don't think he's dead again. Okay,
so in my mind, I was kind of like, when I first saw it, I was like, he died, and then later I was like, wait a minute, he didn't die, like, because he just got crushed by a bell. I mean, but everybody else kind of broke apart. But was it heavy enough that it like turned his bones to dust?
No.
So
I think it was just symbolically.
Okay.
Because there's room under the bell that he would have had, like a bell isn't just flat on the bottom,
right?
So he's probably just under there still to this day.
So I should also say that that cenote where they're dropped into as well, that actually had some real significance too, because that's actually like in like the Mayan times where they would just dump people and let them die. So they actually, like, when the security guards threw them in there, that was kind of like the
Mayan,
ruins. That was a throwback to that limestone shaft that they fell into, that they were in there. That's what they would actually do with people, is just dump them in there. But obviously, it would just be a waiting game at that point. They wouldn't really die. Like in Mayan times, they dumped a real person in there, and they really would just die of starvation in there. But they would just be a waiting game. So for Miguel's standpoint, it would be a death, though, because he would be not able to get back before sunrise, and then Hector would die. That's where he would die because of being forgotten. So just a little history in there too.
Yeah, that scene's kind of a combination of when the security guards and Inside Out throw them into the subconscious, sadness and joy, and then it also had the memory dump vibes, kind of like those two combined. For that scene. I also wanted to comment that Otter Tunes is talking about Monsters Inc. vibes, and I 100% agree with like when they recorded Ernesto there at the end, and the only thing I could think of that could possibly be a negative, but then I just loved it so much that I couldn't even count it as a negative, that there was a couple of things like that I did see from Monsters Inc. And I know that Monsters Inc. has been said that they did use as an inspiration for this world. And so maybe some for the story as well. If you think about it, Miguel going into this world for the first time, like Boo going into the monster world, gaining this, unlikely friendship or whatever. And then people being after them. That's very much like a Boo Monsters Inc. thing. And then the surprise villain is also a Monsters Inc. thing. And then the recording said villain is also a Monsters Inc. thing. So if anything, I guess that was my only critique, is that I did see a couple of those points before, but then it worked so well for this story that I couldn't knock any.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or I knocked very few up.
It
was like a 0.3.
It's funny you say that. Now I just imagine this skeleton Mike Wazowski going, "Let's watch My Favorite Pet again, shall we?"
Yeah.
They should have put that in. But yeah, so I totally agree with Otter Tunes that there was definitely a few things lifted, or at least similar to Monsters Inc. But it is what it is. But it did work for this story,
right?
In the end. Had you thought about that? Did that cross your mind while watching it at all?
No, not the Monsters Inc. connection. But Aiden Duncan's saying there too. I got vibes of the relationship of your hero doing terrible things, like from Up.
That was another thing. That surprise villain also reminded me of Up because of that same reason. Whereas like the hero was the person that they looked up to.
Oh, so somebody else I work with said something funny too. That they said Pixar has a thing for villains with mustaches, little mustaches. So, because Chef Skinner's got the little teeny mustache, Ernesto has the little teeny mustache.
Is Water News?
Water News did in Monsters University.
Yeah,
when he had the fro.
Technically, but not in Monsters.
Right, but then there was another one too. There was one more than when we looked it up, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious!" Like the little mustaches.
Stinky Pete.
Stinky Pete, he had a mustache, but it was a thick one, but that made sense because he would be from the Prospector time. But there's another one that had another thin...
Not Lotso, because Lotso doesn't have a mustache.
Chick Hicks has a mustache.
Chick Hicks. Chick Hicks had a mustache.
Yeah.
But,
that's funny.
But there still is another one. But there still was one more that I saw that
That's a lot of mustaches, though.
Yeah, a lot of mustaches and a lot of villains.
Villains with mustaches.
We see someone with a mustache.
Yeah.
Who is it? You're killing me.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, I did point out that Riley's dad had a mustache, though, and he wasn't a villain.
True.
Yeah.
But, so anyways, we had a mustache discussion, which was funny.
That is funny. Man, a lot of Pixar villains do. Now I'm going to think about that every time I watch.
See? So whenever you're watching a movie, that's going to be your, like, spoiler.
If they have a mustache, then they're going to be a surprise villain?
Right. So then I think we're really to the credits, unless there's other scenes that you guys had.
Otter Tune says Bon Voyage has a mustache too.
That was the other one.
That's the one.
That was it. He's got the little who he is, of course.
That's true. Is he gonna have a cameo? Oh, that's totally off the rails, but
yeah. Oh, and then
and the next one, yeah.
That would be cool. Incredibles. So then it was really the credits. Great. Beautiful job in the credits. Love the fact that they that the song was a nice uplifting, like we talked about, and then all the little pictures that they had to lay out.
The digital Brenda,
yeah, like that.
Oh
was
yeah, that was nice.
That was great.
My family started leaving. I'm like, no, you have to stay till the end. They're like, is there a scene? I'm like, no, but it's special. Okay, just stay.
Yeah. You don't leave the movie before the credits are over.
No, not in a Pixar movie.
And especially not for Pixar, because they always have some nice little message or something at the end that will melt your heart. And I love
how just like reading the credits.
I love how they talk about visiting your local library, because that's so Pixar to say something so timeless.
Right.
And to encourage, reading books.
Yep. So I saw that, like, in the additional voices section, like Lee Unkrich did a voice. Adrian Molina did a voice. I don't know what they voiced.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, you know what? That digital Ofrenda was they near the Cafe Luxo across from that, they had that extra seating area.
Right? Yeah.
And while I was there, they actually had that same Ofrenda, only in person.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was there, tangible. Everybody, they had the pictures were all there. They actually had their own Pixar Ofrenda. They had food out still. They had pictures, and then they had that big gallery of all those. You couldn't take pictures, obviously, because it's kind of sacred in a sense. Yeah. But it was cool that they had that one that you see at the end of the credits there in real life.
That's cool.
Do we want to talk about?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I thought that was kind of cool that we got to see, because we always watch the credits for Leo Santos because
we have a silly story about him.
Yes.
And it's not, we've never met him or anything like that. Nothing affiliated with him.
But we always look for his name because.
Well, let me tell the story.
Okay, sorry.
So when we were pregnant with our son, we're like, okay, if it's a girl, we're going to name her Violet. If it's a boy, we're going to name him Miles. Well, we went for our appointment, and it was the day we found out it's a boy. And as soon as we found out it's a boy, I was like, we're not naming him Miles.
No, neither one of us were like,
it didn't feel right.
We were both like, this is stupid.
Nope,
like, no way.
It just didn't feel right. It's not that the name was wrong. It didn't feel like that was our son's name.
Right.
So that day we had scheduled off work and we were going to go register for everything. We made it a super special day. So TJ had stopped to get gas and he wanted a Slurpee and an ice cream Snickers bar. So he went inside 7-Eleven.
TJ loves his Slurpees.
That's right.
Yeah, he went in to get those two items, and I'm looking through Twitter, just looking for names because just our Pixar post Twitter feed. I happened to be the first tweet I saw was from Leo Santos. And I was like, Leo.
So I'm pumping gas.
I'm like,
she
Leo.
Opens the door and goes, what do you think about Leo? I go, done. I love it.
And that was it.
That was it.
And I can't picture it any other way.
Story.
He is such a Leo.
Yeah, and that's his name, just Leo. And it's all because of, it's literally because I saw that was the first tweet that happened to be open. And I was like, Leo, I kind of like that.
And we had, okay, so here's the thing is we had battled with boy names forever.
They're harder than girl names.
Yes, they are. And we locked in on a girl name right away. We were like, perfect. Isaiel says, wow, what a diet. Hey, cool. But we went back and forth and what is it going to be and blah, blah, blah. And we had no idea, we literally were so stumped and kind of downtrodden on it for a little bit. What are we going to do? We were so bummed.
Yeah.
So we always look for, Leo Santos in the credits.
He inspired naming our son.
And what was his role again?
He was the layout lead.
Which film was it that you were watching?
The
Coco
credits
was last night. Yeah.
No, I mean, but where was it when you initially saw it?
Just on
Twitter was.
Just on Twitter.
Yeah. So.
Oh, so it wasn't
2014.
No, it was 2013.
Oh, 2013. Right, 2013.
Gotcha.
So
it was when I saw it.
Yeah, it would. Isaiel, you don't have to say sorry. I know it's a joke.
So my phone ended up charging. So these are this is what he's, the Alebrijes. They're limited edition Alebrijes sculpted in Mexico. And check this out. You're going to love this.
Oh, wait, hang on. I'll make it stay on you. Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, and I think there's the monkey there too. I don't know. I think it's the same. Do you see it there? I think it's the same one.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's with Frida.
Yeah, down there.
Yeah, which is.
They're only in Mexico.
Yeah, so there's a couple other. Let me see. There's a couple other pictures.
I'm gonna look on eBay.
Here's the back.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Let me see. I think there's a Dante one.
That's cool.
That's cool.
On the side.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
That's all of them. So yeah, that's really cool. Thanks, Danny.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
get
really
one of
cool.
those.
So Luis Garza is asking the question, but how did the people in the living world start hating Ernesto, even with the poems? Would they be so quick to just believe this one family and a boy?
It was a year later, so it might have been a little bit of who knows what the process was, but I bought it because they had the evidence. They had the letters. I think that really helped.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what? I also like the idea of the letters and poems because if you think about it, Coco was the last person on Earth to remember Hector.
Right.
And technically, when she died, even though Miguel remembered her, he still should have been gone because he was still technically the only one to remember him, if you think about it.
Well, no, because Coco, once she played Remember Me, she was telling them stories. And
that's what I'm saying. That's where I was getting at.
Oh.
So it was the stories, and it was the letters and the poems that solidified him.
Yeah.
Because technically, without those, it's even though Coco remembered at that moment, they still would have passed, even if it was a year later, because she was the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I love that they added in those poems and those songs, not only as proof for this case that, what happened with Ernesto, and that Hector was really the ones that wrote the song, or one that wrote the songs, but it also helped Hector's memory live on for him to not fade away.
Yeah.
But that was super clever.
I already talked about this book, and again, the link is in the video description. But
did they go through that?
But they talk more about what the story she was telling, and the fact that like we all like froze because Mama Coco doesn't talk a lot, so we were all like, what the heck? And like, like in the stories that she was telling. So just, there's more of that in there too. It's
moments like that where you could just tell they were thinking of everything.
Yeah.
They're sitting around, they're like, oh no, but this and this, how do we remedy that? Like, they're sitting there in the story meetings, and they're coming up with every little detail that connects everything. And like I said before we even started airing, the fact that I wanted to bring this up, the fact that Miguel's family is so hard on music, it might seem harsh that they can't do anything in regards to music. But what I was telling TJ before we started was that it makes so much sense, because to fill in a hole that could have been a potential plot hole, Coco growing up, or Imelda, never know Remember Me, even though it's such a popular song, they never hear of it. And,
right.
And that is because their family is so strict on zero music whatsoever. Because I know some criticism was, oh, wow, they're way too overly, hard on music, but it's needed, or else they would have heard of the song. Right.
They would have been like, what the heck?
Hey, this guy's stole, our father's or my husband's song. But the fact that they isolated themselves away from any music, you can say, oh, wait, then I guess they would have never heard. And then that story point is granted. So I thought that was really cool. That's another example of them just thinking of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Have we touched on everything?
What do you guys give it?
No.
1 out of 10.
We never will, but
1 out of 10.
Yeah, 1 out of 10. So we did this. We did this on our last hangout too. So those in the comments, we'll do another quick poll now that people have seen it more and they want it, and we want to hear your thoughts on it. So 1 to 10 rated out there. But yeah, Gio, let's go with you first. What do you think? 1 to 10.
Oh, geez, I mean,
he laughs.
I laugh because I don't know. I saw the film and there was just. I want to touch on one last thing, and I know that it's a while, and like we've seen these figures now throughout the whole movie. Say again, like the designs, appealing they looked, and the emotions on these skeletons. Film. Just something super special about it. I'm gonna be cliche and say 10 out of 10 because I really thought it was just a beautiful, perfect. Julie said in the beginning, like beginning to end, love the pacing of it. And yeah, I know it's cliche to say that. I know you guys are probably gonna say like, okay, Gio, 10 out of 10.
No, I give it a 10 out of 10 too.
I just thought it was just a flawless film.
I did too. I'm with you because I think this was fantastic for me. I love it. It is 10 out of 10 for me.
Okay, good. I'm glad you agree.
High five again.
Okay, so we so we got 2 10 out of 10s. Dan, how about you?
I want to rate it 10 out of 10 because it is so flawless. I think I think story-wise, all those points that I brought up, how everything ties in perfectly, I have torn this thing apart and I have tried to find holes. And I have tried to find things that I don't like about it. And there's nothing, virtually. But then there is that tiny little thing inside me that's saying that some of these story points, though they work for the story, are a tad familiar, like the surprise villain and a couple of those things that we've seen before. So I have to knock it just like the tiniest bit, maybe like a 9.8 or something like that, a 9.7. just because it's so slight. But like Gio said, I think this is Pixar's most flawless, most perfect movie. I can barely knock anything off of it. The character design, the pacing, everything that, I want to echo everything we've already talked about. I guess I don't have to go through it again. Right. The animation, everything, the music, it's so close to perfect. It's one of the most perfect films I think I've seen, actually.
Agreed. And your reasoning is the exact as mine, because the surprise villain thing has been done a lot. It's a little bit different in this one.
It is. That's why I gave it a pass.
Yeah, it was
or somewhat pass. I didn't knock it as much as I would have.
Right. It's a little different in the sense that, like, Ernesto was never thought he had a great-great-grandson, so he wasn't trying to be like the villain to him. He was already the villain, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like Water Noose or something like that. There was still something that was just different enough about it that it was a pseudo surprise villain.
Right. It was a surprise villain that you needed to happen for that, just for the story, Some surprise villains you're like, okay, you maybe add in there just to cause a little more attention, whatnot. But like, yeah, without that surprise, that whole reason that Miguel goes on this journey in the first place, like it like had to happen almost.
Right.
Thing. So yeah, you're right.
It was needed, and it also it tied the whole Ernesto story together. Like the fact that he, what am I trying to say? That advice that he gave Miguel, when I told you that, just didn't ring true to me. And when I said, how are they going to back themselves out of this one? Like that's not the message we want to take away. And the fact that he did what he did and that he did turn out to be this villain, absolutely necessary for the story. And you make him, it makes him one of those characters that you love to hate. And I think that all the things that I critique, like the story points that might seem familiar, like you said, TJ, they're different enough where I can give them mostly a pass. Yep. Because they're needed so much for the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite Pixar story by far. And it's hard for me to say, like, to rate every Pixar film, because I feel like like Toy Story, I feel like has to be number one. I mean, it's so iconic, it's so like amazing. But this is, and you know how much I love Brave, and you know how much I love MU, and this is beat them.
Wow,
this is up there. I mean, I think,
I know people always ask, they're like, where does it rank? I'm like, don't ask me that question. Don't ask me where does it rank. It's such a hard question.
Yeah, but this is my favorite Pixar story. Like I could watch this film over and over and over and over and over again, and I just love it. I love it.
Well, and to me, what makes a film able to watch it over and over again is the pacing of it. And like you said, like it didn't have any of those lulls. It didn't have any of those moments that like eventually like you're like, all right, I've seen it.
Yeah, it had none of that.
Right. So yeah,
the imagination that went into it. You're watching it and it's literally nothing you've ever seen before.
Yeah. Now, can I also...
And what's also awesome is our 3.5-year-old son, who wiggled and walked around in Cars 3, sat the entire time for Coco. Not only did he sit,
did all my nieces and nephews.
When Un Poco Loco came on and they started singing, we were the only ones in the theater because it was just, Wednesday night. And he stood up and leaned against the seat in front and was just kind of going like this.
Yeah, he was captivated
the whole time, which is awesome for a 3.5-year-old. So
right.
I think that's
my dad and one of my sisters left the film saying that it was their favorite Pixar film, and my dad, like, Toy Story was the only Pixar film that he ever loved. Like he sees them all and he loves them. But to hear him say that, I didn't think he was even, I thought I was going to look back and find him sleeping, because he doesn't usually respond to something this different. And for him to say that it was his favorite, and he keeps on bugging me to see it again, not bugging me, but he keeps on asking, when are we going to see it again? And my sister right after put it up on Facebook, how it was her favorite, and trying to get that word of mouth out there. They're right there with you, Julia. It instantly climbed for them to the top.
Yeah.
What was your final score, TJ? Out of 10?
So what's funny is if you're allowing variances to that level of between like you said, like a 9.7, 9.8, if we're going to go to that level, then I'll be right there with you. I was rounding to like 9.5, but yeah, 9.78 if we're
it's the slightest thing. It's the slightest thing. It's not even a big deal. I could barely even count on a flaw. That's why it's so slight.
Correct.
Yeah, and Giovanni, we're 10s.
And there's a lot of people that are 10s too. So like, Paulina's like,
I agree. I just couldn't help but thinking about those things.
Yeah, like first viewing 9.5, after 4 viewings 10 out of 10. Esther 10 out of 10, but I'm biased. There, Aiden 9.5, Otter Tunes 9.
This is my favorite Pixar.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying it's their favorite. So I wrote this in our post as well about I think it was, which one did I do this on? Oh, about the fact of like it at the top of the box office and all the record breaking and everything. But can we talk about this and put this in another form as well? And I'm looking at the camera here for all these people that were haters, that were freaking out about how this is such a ripoff of the Book of Life, and it's not even made. And it's not even made. Oh my God, it's gonna be made by gringos, by Americans, and like.
But it wasn't.
Oh, they want to trademark Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
that was someone's. That was an error.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just saying these were all part of the complaints.
I'll give them that, but literally, like they're all part of the complaints. People were saying boycott the film when it was announced. People are like, this is ridiculous. This is such a ripoff. I can't believe this. Americans trying to steal our holiday, our traditions again. Can we finally say that was all wrong? And the next time everybody jumps off a bridge and starts freaking out, can we reference this moment and be like, do you remember Coco, people?
Hey, can we also say how special the film this is right now?
What was that, Julie?
I said, can we also say how special this film is right now?
Yeah,
with everything.
I mean, that was literally the first thing I turned to my mom when I introduced it to her finally. I turned around, I said, was that a special film or what? That was like literally the first thing I said. And she said that was special.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things too, and Dan, you can probably relate to this, that just like the guests who come into the store, and I love when they're looking at Coco, I run over, I'm like, so what'd you think? And I love it. They got my culture, the culture, seeing their eyes light up, like that they loved it. It's just, I love seeing the reaction of people from this film.
Are you talking about at the Disney store, like the merchandise?
Yeah. Like just them, and then after the film and just seeing their reaction to it all, like it was really special.
I have loved seeing that. I had no idea how the merchandise was going to do or how people were going to respond in that regard. And the Coco Tsum Tsum sold out as soon as the film came out. The dolls, the figurine sets, the action figures, the Mattel ones that they sell there as well.
Mm-hmm.
The shirts, kids are flocking to the merchandise because it means so much to them. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I didn't know how it was going to do, because they're skeletons, and I didn't know, how kids were going to respond to that type of merchandise. And seeing these kids, like you said, light up when they see these toys there, and they see these characters, and then talking to guests about how I haven't had one person tell me that they disliked anything about it.
Same here. And I'm like, just tell me. And no one right away just look at me like, I loved it. Like just seeing their yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the skeletons. I mean, our son, who is scared of skeletons, talks about like, oh no, skeletons. Wasn't scared at all in this film. And I think it's because Miguel wasn't scared of them. Like they became characters, like they became just people. And I think that was really important, how the whole team portrayed the entire story.
Yeah, and it just goes back to the great design choices of like using, like the negative space of the eye sockets to create like an and whatnot, and giving them like lips, even though like, just keeping that really appealing face. Like it's just great little design choices like that really carried it through. So
yeah, that's a huge hats off to the design team, obviously, because they were a huge, obviously, part of that, of making them appealing, and how many times they probably had to go through, how many versions they went getting that just right, getting that perfect balance of skeletal realism and, caricature, and it not being scary and it being very appealing. That's such a hard balance to do all those, to get all those things and to make it work. And they
Absolutely.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I want to talk about awards, but I also want to talk about Olaf's real quick and Disney marketing.
Okay.
Because we talked about it early on that Olaf's was more than likely something that it was the television special that they smashed in front of this, thinking that this is what's going to get people in the seats. But yet they thought that Cars 3 was going to be this huge hit. Literally, people are probably like, the Disney marketers are probably like, good God, what
thought you want?
Yeah, we thought Cars 3 was going to be huge, so we plowed a ton of money into that as far as the promotion, the marketing money, and that didn't do exactly what they thought in the theaters. Obviously, the merch is still selling good, but not as good as they anticipated. But then right there with this, like, they throw Olaf's in front of it, and then people are like, I was in the theater for 2.5 hours, and now Olaf's is becoming like. Now, again, we don't need to jump off the bridge with it because there's still plenty of people that loved this short.
But you can't deny that people are definitely complaining about it.
But there are complaints about it, yeah. So it's very interesting how marketing is just it's all based on the story and that word of mouth marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree. I as soon as it started doing well and I thought to myself, they did not need that. they should have. I wish they were maybe more confident in what they had, because they, like we said, it is so special, and word of mouth does travel, and it is. And I think it would have done just as well without Frozen in front of it. That's what I think.
Yeah, and what's funny is they were probably thinking, we got to pull this television special. We got to put it here. We've been losing money on some of these movies, and you know how profits make decisions. So money changes force you to make decisions. They're probably like, we need this to succeed, and Olaf's is going to make this succeed.
And what's crazy is that it didn't. If anything, it's hindering it, which is like it's ironic almost. It's the opposite of what they were going for.
I don't know if it's hindering it, because we're obviously hearing the noise. We're not hearing, you typically will hear people complain more than celebrate.
Not hindering, but like I've seen a few tweets saying like, man, I wish I could see Coco again, but I don't want to sit through that short again, or that person. It's like, maybe it's hurting repeat viewers a little bit.
Right.
Just come a little later.
Exactly. Well, I'm just saying that's what people that's what people are vocalizing. So
correct. Yeah.
I'm just saying that it didn't need it, and I don't think it's not a hindrance, but ultimately just it wasn't necessary.
Right.
Yeah. So it's only been in 2 of the showings that I've seen, and because the first showing was like a press showing, and the absolute first one was at Pixar, and they didn't show it.
Yeah,
but the second time I saw it seemed to go quicker.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice. I went about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways, so I thought that was interesting. And then the last thing I want to touch on was award season. So obviously we know, and we talked about it early on in our post, that we felt like, hey, they're putting this forth for your consideration for best animated picture as well as best picture. And we thought that was showing the cards a little bit as far as before the movie came out, like, what do we have here? We feel like we've got something super special. So what do we think now? Is this a contender for best picture at the Oscars this year?
I think I am. I don't want to jinx anything, so but I feel like it's got a 90% chance of getting into the best picture category. I really feel like it's going to. And if there was a film to win best picture, an animated film to win best picture, I think this is it. That's my prediction.
So I don't know if it's hopeful or wishful thinking, but I definitely see it being nominated, since it is in the running. and I really, really want to see it more than anything. I want to see that thing get nominated for Best Picture. I mean, even if it doesn't win, that's a long shot because there are some that the chances are probably a little bit more slim because they usually do go for a live action film. But to see it just get a nomination for Best Picture alone, even without a win, would be incredible. And I'm so hoping for that. And I think it has a great chance. I don't think I could say a number though on the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
definitely agree though too.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I definitely agree. I think it totally has the ability to absolutely snag a Best Picture nom for sure.
With the Oscars continuing to push diversity, this is something that appeals in that realm. It's got high marks. Luis Garza is pointing out a good point, though, that Inside Out didn't get it, and it had as much praise, if not more, from critics.
True. But then Toy Story 3 did, so you just never know.
I know it kind of depends on what else is in the field that year. And I don't follow cinema close enough as far as to know all of the other films. Obviously, you could presume that
Lady Bird's one that's on the radar right now.
Right. And then if the Wonder movie is going to continue to get the success that it's seeing, and then also the big director that did the World War II, Dunkirk.
Oh, yeah, Dunkirk.
Dunkirk will probably be something that's, in a contention for a lot of different things, but
yeah, then there's a few more too that are just coming out now during the season.
Right. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of competition. I would absolutely love to see it get there for obviously all the reasons that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope it does as well. People are putting it out here. So Lady Bird, Call Me by Your Name, Shape of Water are getting nominated. Yep.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to jinx it, but this one I can say 100%. Someone saying that they don't think it will be nominated for Best Picture, but that it will win Best Animation. I'm 100% confident that it's gonna win Best Animated Feature.
Oof, it better.
I'm gonna say it. I'm 100% confident, and if I'm wrong, then so be it. But
people were 100% confident that
Monsters Inc.
that all the snubs that's come along the years.
It's true. But I'm just saying, I have a feeling it's in my heart.
I think a lot of people were 100% confident that Wreck-It Ralph was going to win the Best Animated Feature.
I'm just saying, okay?
Yeah.
And Brave won that year.
If I'm wrong, then it's okay. Hopefully nothing too bad will happen to me. But I'm going to lock in my vote and say that it will.
I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna feel it.
Okay. We'll talk after.
Yeah. So anyways, so I think that about covers it, right? We were in theaters for 2.5 hours.
And we just kept you guys here for 2.5 hours.
Because of Olaf's Frozen Adventure and all the previews. So we just kept you here for 2.5 hours. So for everybody that was here, really thanks for hanging out. Paulina saying she's confident Coco's going to take the Oscar.
Thank you, Paulina.
So yes, but thank you for everybody for listening along. We had a blast. We got some really good insights into the film here. Our thoughts back and forth. Dan and Danny and Esther sharing the information that that as we were talking about it really made it a lot more of an enhanced event as well. So really thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Giovanni, for jumping on. Where can people find some of your work?
At my website, which is www.martinez.com. And if you want to find the spelling of that, you can always look at my Twitter handle that's attached to the
tweets that we put out.
And you'll be able to see the spelling of it too. So yeah.
There you go. Perfect. And then Dan, we all know DanThePixarFan.com.
True.
That's right. Right. So thank you again to everybody for chiming in and sharing your thoughts with us as well. And until next time, we're going to have another one of these hangouts, and we're going to talk about a very serious topic. We're going to talk about John Lasseter. So we're going to be getting some thoughts and want to know your thoughts on this as well. Obviously, we didn't want to touch on it on here because we wanted to keep the conversation about Coco as it is, about a wonderful film. But we're going to talk about that a little bit as well and want your thoughts on that. just to see what's out there in the news on those. So anyways, people are saying, oh goodness. So
we've been here for 2.5 hours, and yet it's still not enough. Like, I feel like all of us could, I still have so much. I feel like we could go on for hours. There's so much in this film that you could dissect. And I feel like 2.5 hours isn't even scratching the surface.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, very deep.
Well, thank you again to everybody for joining on. We can't wait to talk to you next time. And of course, be sure to stay tuned to PixarPost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.